Athletes are always challenging themselves to get better. You've seen this in all sports. Esports is no exception. You can never predict the outcome. The only thing you can control is how ready you are. Over and over, players adapt, trying to improve, fighting hard for every percent gained. Give everything you've got to the challenge and show your finest. Bring your best out. Strive for perfection. It's our goal too.
Hello PUBG esports fans! One of the big differences with PGI.S is that instead of receiving prize money based on your final rank is determined by how much prize money you've won. We're awarding prize money every week, and the team who has collected the most at the end will be crowned our PGI.S champion. Here's how it breaks down. The first 8 teams to win a weekly survival match each week take home an automatic cash prize, earning more the sooner they win. From there, the winners of the weekly finals tournament get an even bigger cash prize. The first place prize being $25,000 on week 1, and growing to an astounding $500,000 by week 6, giving teams lots of opportunity to catch up and claim the title. Winning isn't the only way teams are earning cash though. 30% of the total profit made from PGI.S item sales goes back to participating teams. This money will be distributed based on the percentage of money each team won in the tournament, with bigger rewards for the higher performing teams. So, not only do you get cool skins and voting coupons to earn even more cool skins, but you're also helping your favorite teams bring home more well-deserved prize money. So be sure to tune in, pick your winners, and cheer on your favorite teams across 8 weeks of intense PUBG action.
they got me like one shot. Climbing and humble, yeah. I'm in my squad, feeling like I know I'm the greatest, I crumble, yeah. Made it from the bottom to the top, I did it there. Got all the players, everybody breathing for air. Aiming it, lock it. Winner takes it all, taking it all. No one breaking in his mind, what? Are you ready? Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Aim it and lock it, shoot. The winner takes it all, taking it all. Shoot. Aim it and lock it. You know that nobody like me, cause I'm faster and I'm stronger. You can have me, let me guarantee, cause the winner takes it all. You ready?
Hello PUBG fans, and here we are, getting everything set and ready to go with our bottom 16 placement qualifying rounds. That's a lot of words and you don't know what it is. Just remember, if you've been watching the weekly survival series, got our top 16 teams fighting it out. When one of them wins the chicken dinner, they step away, already qualified for the weekly finals. Then whatever team is in first place after these next 4 rounds will then step in and vie for a shot to make the weekly finals as well. I'm Matrim, and you can see, joining me on the analyst roles, we've got Froz and Godspeed, already halfway through everything. Godspeed, there's been a lot of talk about winning teams and how strong this bottom 16 is. Most notably, there are 2 teams that everybody's got their eyes set on, and that is going to be FaZe and Shoot to Kill. What are we looking at moving into these final 4 rounds with them?
So far, FaZe and Shoot to Kill have both kind of cannibalized most of the points in this lobby. They've been able to kind of take them away from the other teams, and they've given themselves at least a nice little cushion on the top 2 as far as, being the top 2 slots. And what that actually does is it does hurt the teams in the middle, but because of how much of a disparity there are in points towards the top, it actually kind of helps the teams on the bottom, of which I'm mainly looking at TSM and 4AM, where one game could propel them, 4, 5, 6 slots. Which is really crazy to think because there's only 4 more games and still a lot of chances for the teams on the bottom. But so far, yeah, it's been the Shoot to Kill and FaZe Clan show with a little mix of Burram in there.
Yeah, well, we'll hit on Burram here in just a second, but Froz, we were kind of talking about it a little bit beforehand about how the qualification system in this works. So whenever, like right now, if this was going to be the end-all be-all, Shoot to Kill's in first place. After the weekly Survivor Series starts up, somebody wins around, Shoot to Kill would take that spot. We keep talking about week 5, but a lot of times, and yesterday we were talking about the importance and how that sets you up for week 6 success. Like, how pivotal is this week's bottom 16 for these teams to have any chance moving forward in the later weeks?
Yeah, obviously you want as many qualification rounds as possible to win that chicken dinner. And looking at a team like FaZe and STK, sure, they're dominating here right now, but we also saw them having 16 games in the weekly survival where they didn't manage to actually get through. They didn't get that win, so they're down here right now. And that's all that matters. If you don't get that chicken dinner, you're not getting anywhere. You're going to be staying down here. Ask a team like Damwon Kia. They've been here forever. They still haven't been able to win the one game in the weekly survival. And that's what's going to do to you. Or 4AM, in the past 37 games, they won 1 game in the weekly, in the bottom 16, not in any weekly survival. This is not something you want to be doing. You want to be getting those wins. So even if you can just get yourself 1 win here, that's going to give you a little bit more confidence to get that win in the weekly survival in the upcoming week. But also, of course, how important it is to just stay in the top 16 as much as possible.
4AM, like, that's a team that we all came in with high expectations, or at least better than what we're seeing from them right now. On the flip side of that, Burram in third is kind of a startling situation that we're looking at given the leaderboard in its present state. Do you think that we're going to continue to see that? Do you think Burram's got it going, Godspeed, or do you think that this is just kind of like their heyday right now?
Look, I you know, Matt, that I absolutely love Burram, but the problem is, and I kind of said this yesterday on the desk, is the fact that currently there's 2 teams in the top 16 that are doing Burram better, and that's using that aggressive playstyle to their advantage and really winning a lot of those fights in that game, and that's Petrichor and mainly Daytrade, who's actually killing it right now in the top 16. So if Burram can just keep this going and actually win the fights that they're constantly getting into, because they do get in a lot of fights, and that's why they're so exciting and we love watching them play, then yes, I think that this could be an upwards trend as far as making it out of this lobby. But, we've seen them make it out and give themselves a good amount of games in the weekly survivals before and still kind of struggle. So it's just really hit or miss with Buriram. I love that team, just a little inconsistent. Let's see if they can find it here.
A little inconsistent. That's a polite way of putting it. And they tend to go a little bit back and forth for them. They do have a lot of clutch potential, but that's the consistency. I think that's really what it comes down to with this. So Froz, FaZe, shoot to kill, just eating every single point that's in the lobby, it feels like right now. 54, 49, and then Buriram in third with 33 points. That's a huge gap for 4 rounds. I mean, if you're playing in a situation like this, how do you contend with the fact that there are 2 teams that are just eating every single point, and how do you make sure that you get yourself into a good position?
You stop looking at the top 2 teams. That's not your goal right now. Your goal is to take one step at a time. So for a team like Buriram, keep on holding that 3rd place, but keep on trying to get more points. What we saw yesterday from Buriram, I'd say, is they basically played one game, and it was that one aerial game. Except for that, they kind of changed up the playstyle. They're not going super aggressive right now, taking every fight. Right now, what we're seeing is that they're going through a transition here where they're trying something new, because they've seen that their fighting style, they can fight teams, they can get a lot of kills, but they're not getting wins. That's not getting them through the weekly survival. And because of that, they're changing the playstyle. Right now, it's not too late, but they're trying right now to go more for a little bit of a survival aspect. And we're seeing them doing a little bit more rotations instead of taking the short route into the circle and just take all the fights. And that is what I like with seeing from Buriram. One of few teams that's actually making a change for the better good in the long run right now in this tournament. But then you have teams like STK and FaZe that has been just dominating. As you're saying, both the teams, except for one off game, they've been top 3 for STK and top 2 in every game for FaZe Clan. A first, a second for FaZe, a third, first, and third for STK. That is just amazing in 4 games to have that kind of run. And of course, we still have 4 more games, so anything could still happen. But again, you see Buriram, they got that win with 18 kills. Except for that, it's been kind of very off. They have 5 points outside of that game, so that's not what you want to see, but at least they're trying to do something new, and I respect that.
Well, you raise an interesting point whenever we're looking at all the different, styles and approaches a team has to take with what we're looking at between the weekly survival series, the bottom 16. We've got a mix of just winner chicken dinner versus the super settings versus even having the TPP rounds that we had last weekend. You hit on a couple of things inside there, most notably adaptation. And I think that that's one of the key factors that we have to look at for this. Like, we're seeing a lot of the teams that are doing a great job on just building off of successes or finding variations where they can succeed. What we're looking at right now is FaZe and shoot to kill that are just eating everything. Is it just one round? Is that really all you need to succeed, Godspeed? Or is that just kind of setting yourself up for a potential failure whenever you're looking towards the survival series?
Well, it's really about building confidence, right? If you can get one really successful round, you put yourself higher on the leaderboard, especially if it's like one of the last games of the day. What you end up doing is building that confidence going into the next day, knowing that you guys can do it, right? Okay, we had 2 really bad games, but look, we were able to bring it back. We were able to bounce back, and that's really good mentally as well. If your team can kind of overcome those pitfalls. FaZe is, I think, a perfect example of that, as is SDK. But FaZe in the past, the whole reason we have a thing called FaZe Sunday is because FaZe was able to bounce back and either win or put themselves in like a podium position. And that's really what it comes down to, is building that mental strength and the confidence. You're going to have bad games in PUBG, right? It's just kind of par for the course. But what really matters and what really sets these championship teams apart is the fact that they're able to find consistency in the chaos. And I think that's what FaZe, STK, and all the other top teams, can do. But as Froz also said, to kind of counter my own point, is it's really just about making sure you change up the playstyle to guarantee yourself the chicken dinner, because ultimately in the survival format, that's really all that matters.
Well, there's a couple of teams in here that we've been talking about the top. 4AM, TSM, there's a couple of consistent teams that we've been seeing in the bottom 16 that really haven't been able to find a way to make it into the weekly finals. But I just got to ask, Froz, TSM, 4AM, what's going on with them right now?
Actually, from both of the teams, we're seeing kind of the same things that is happening. They're both hesitant on their rotations. They're not sure what to do. If you look at them, they would try to make a rotation towards the center, but it doesn't succeed there. So they lose a player or two, and then that's when they start getting confused on what to do. If you look at what they're doing when that happens, is that they start driving around, they start going backwards a little bit, then they say, no, we should actually just keep on going straight towards the center instead. So they turn around, do another 180 and go for the center. But when that happens, is that they just get shot another time, and then they lose another player, and then they're down to 1 or 2 and just trying to survive from there. So that's kind of what we're seeing from them yesterday, and it's just not working out. These are two teams that we'd like to see on the edge, finding their way in, because we know that they have enormous fighting power on both of the teams. They've been doing really great on that part, but right now what's not working for them is rotations.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even seeing a lot of the firepower come out just due to those early losses that you were talking about there, Froz. Now, on the flip side of that, Shoot to Kill, FaZe, highly dominant yesterday, walking away with a ton of kills. I'm going to ask you the easiest question I'm probably ever going to ask as host. Godspeed. Is that going to continue?
I don't know. I think that's actually a much tougher question than you pose it as. But I think, yeah, for the most part, I think they're going to find their consistency, or at least not find it, but they're going to stay with their consistency that they've found overall. I can't imagine that they're going to have like some travesty or catastrophic failure as a team today, for either of those teams, to be completely honest. But you know, you never know. It is PUBG, and yeah, it's a wild game. But I think they'll be fine. I think the consistency will stay for both teams.
So I'm going to be a polite host. I know we got to do predictions. Froz, we're going to start off with you, but I'm going to be nice. I'm going to let you do 2. And remember, Godspeed, 2. You always try to add 1 in here.
Yeah.
Just
No, I got
whatever
it.
2 teams that you think are going to have a good day today, and you can even take the easy ones at the top.
You know what? I'm just gonna go and throw a little curveball here. I'm gonna say 4M is gonna do good, and I think that Damwon Kia is gonna do good. That's 2 teams that I think should be doing good as well, but haven't done too good so far. But they have the potential. They have showed us. Damwon Kia had a decent day yesterday, even though they are in a 4th place, 24 points. It's only 15 points to the bottom, to the 16th place, so it's still very tight between all the teams.
Godspeed, what you got for me?
I mean, I'm just gonna stick with my picks. I picked FaZe and SDK yesterday, so I feel pretty big brain about it now. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna stick with my picks.
Well, I'm not going to do any predictions because even in my slight little bump I tried to give one of the teams yesterday, they immediately had a couple of issues. So I'm going to take the coward's way out. But we got 2 people that are going to be bringing a whole bunch of bravado into the cast. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to Clover and Cammy D. You guys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Matchroom, Froz, and Godspeed. Cammy, it has been a hot minute since you and I have casted together, and this has been a hot tournament thus far as well. How you feeling?
It really has. Games yesterday's were exciting. I was surprised by how quickly FaZe and SUK just came out swinging. I want to remind everyone, because I am no coward, that I actually didn't expect them to perform so well right off the bat. I expected them to be at the top of the leaderboard by the end of tonight, but to come out from game 1 for both of the teams, swinging, hitting hard, taking so many kills with them along the way, point sponge after point sponge after point sponge. I'm excited to see if they're going to continue up that trend, but also we do need to pay a little bit of attention to not just my boys at Breweram, but Damwon Kia. They've been struggling consistently throughout this entire tournament ever since the initial ranking placement on the very first weekend, but they're currently sitting in 4th place. The question is Under able to really drag them up finally into a decent position?
And you know, I mean, that's a really good point, right? They were definitely one of the leaders that we were interested in. As you do see, real quick, Cody has taken a couple of shots, but you know, superficial. But back to your point onto Damwon Kia, this was a team that we had huge high hopes for. You know, they were coming out as a powerhouse from a region. We were looking at this lobby and saying this should be a lobby they're comfortable for playing, but for whatever reason, things aren't clicking. And obviously, there's been, you know, jokes saying they're waiting to show their cards, their hands until the final week. But as we've seen, teams that are primed, teams that know how to play this game, even on a good week, just can't get that chicken dinner. And that is too high of a risk. So with Damwon, what we want to see is them take that growth and finally have a good week. Get into the finals, get that cash, and play the PUBG that we've just been expecting to see.
Yeah, and it's sort of what we've been talking about this entire weekend on the desk and the cast, whereas putting yourself in a successful position during a bottom 16 placement match only helps you further for the next week. If you're consistently, like Damwon Kia has been, and consistently only having like 4 or 5 games thereabouts on average to try and get that round win to put yourself in the weekly final, that is close to a third less opportunities than a team not only coming in from the previous weekly final or being at the top of the leaderboard from the bottom 16, like SDK and FaZe are right now. Those are the stakes. That's where we're all standing in right now. But with this circle, we saw a quick little pop there over towards the mid-east around Montenuevo. We saw a similar circle like that yesterday, and I believe that was the game that actually SDK came out on top of with 19 kills, really wreaking havoc with the open area around this land. I'm waiting to see if there's another team that's going to be able to put themselves in a really, really strong position here to do so, because there are a lot of fields in this area.
And, kind of to double back your point too about teams using this as an opportunity to do better in the following week. We had Meta have those 2 top performances in the bottom 16. They're finally playing in the finals this week, and so far they're looking fairly good. They've made a couple of blunders, but we can see the growth from them as a team. Additionally, on the flip side of that, FaZe has been down here before, and the week that they went back from their seeding after having a really nice week here down in the bottom 16, they went forward and then they won, and that's why they're currently our cash leaders. Though, since they are missing out on opportunities this week, they're going to lose that title a bit. In fact, quite a few of the teams that are in the top in terms of prize pool thus far are down here. So they've got to be thinking to themselves as well, hey, I need to place top. I want to be given the most opportunities for a chance to seed into next week's finals, because the cash is getting huge and you don't want to miss any more opportunities.
Jalu here for Angry Men, just barely outside the circle, looting up Hacienda. K7 not too far away from them, but it looks like a vehicle is rolling up, skirting up, trading some gear real quick before they hop in and make their way inside. As I mentioned, they're not too far away, but they are going to have to circumvent a number of teams who are immediately in front of them. And 4AM they're one of the teams that I think a lot of players have their eyes on. They performed well in the first quarter, you want to say, first third of PGI.S, but this is the second week in a row that they were not actually in the weekly final. And for a team that is such a powerhouse coming out from their region, it's a little interesting, a little disappointing, some would say, but they are known to have those real high fragging games previously, so hoping that it comes their way this time around.
And I mean, obviously, teams are allowed to have off weeks. You can't play at 100% all the time without something to give just a little bit. But there we go. Looks like K7 is pulling up here to these concrete buildings. Sylphia does have an angle on it. I'm not sure if K7 has read the situation and realizes the East 36 is also here, but it looks like this casual who is being about this, he doesn't know Sylphia is going to land a couple shots into him. Doesn't get taken down, but he will get a tire there as he sees Xenon. Is going to put the pressure back onto Sylphia.
He really would have wanted a second chance at that. That seemed to be almost free of a knock against K7. He was able to deal some damage to the vehicle, so that means that an exit for K7 isn't going to be as easy, but the jig is now up, and so K7 have an opportunity to try and answer back. You can see on the minimap they're in a 2-2 split of their own, so hopefully able to defend the upper two, the upper pair, from this surround that E36 have on them. But I think they're actually hopping into the lone vehicle that they have remaining and going to try and get out of there and find a second place, a plan B to rotate to.
And we can see a rotation rather pulling back right now, coming out from Xenon and the rest of K7. And this is a smart play. I mean, it's still early. Don't need to take this fight if you don't have it, and give themselves that breathing room to play on it. I mean, the great thing about Miramar is there's so much room to move around. But once again, we're seeing another team rotate a little bit closely. CC does have the SKS, but waiting before taking any shots, letting DGW continue on. And this is, I think, an interesting play here from CC. It was, oh, there we go. Got our map stream back up, guys. We can take a look, see where all the teams are right now. Buriram still up to the north, and Damwon Kia also out of Minas. Now, SDK playing down in the islands, coming out of Los Higos, Valle de Mar from the south. This is going to be a pretty easy open spot for them to come into if they choose to play the edge for this further early on. But circles like this, circles that focus on Monty, have a couple different ways to go. We have this really rocky terrain out kind of near phases, or we can sometimes have those big open field fendings out near Pozo, depending on where this circle chooses to shift.
Yeah, there are a number of different field options here, which is why you see such a center focus from a number of these teams. Center is always better than edge, just in, on average, terrain not being considered, shifts not being considered. And that's doubly so when it's a big open field in the center there. How many times have we seen endings around that area just to the northeast of Montenegro? If you get there first, like VP definitely has, very greedy with the land grab that they have there. There's also a number of teams trying to get into a strong position. LG, Divine as well. JN, you can see with the scope trying to make sure that Jun and Turtle do not drive into sneaky, slimy enemies. Able to get to the hilltop. They're actually getting shot in the backside by a AAA attack all around. Not too much damage. Nothing they can't brush off. Put a little bandage on it. Put a little... What do you put on? Alcohol, I guess? Alcohol wipes?
Yeah. Just, a little Neosporin, some antiseptic.
There it is, yeah.
Oh, look at this. You know what? Detonation Gaming managed to entirely avoid one team and is now, once again, finding themselves neighbors for K7 can't catch a break. They keep trying to find a place to sit and hang out in, and unfortunately, it's just not meant to be in terms of serenity here. But that said, this is always a very difficult compound to play out of, especially given Detonation Gaming's position here. This is very exposed, especially C's has. You can see him hanging out in the corner. That's really to prevent K7 from having the angle and more so wait for K7 to walk onto him here. And additionally, now elsewhere we see Crazy taking some very long-range shots at Buriram, trying to catch them on their rotation as they're coming down for water treatment, heading across the backside of San Martin.
Yeah, they're not just coming from water treatment. They're coming all the way up towards Campo Militar in the full northeast of this map. So they've had a long journey ahead of them, able to get inside the circle. As you mentioned, San Martin fully open. DXG also making their way inside. So not a lot of action in this early game. There's been a couple of standoffs. Right, and I say that Eddie's going to be able to get a knock in his Xiaolu. That seems to be quite long range as well. I don't know if 4AM are going to be in a strong position to get that revive. It looks like Forever is not too far away, but I'm not entirely sure on the path of terrain. Okay, he's going to go for it. It's actually not that difficult of a transition for him. Just hop in the Murata and make his way there. So, luckily, 4AM still healthy in terms of man count, but that was a helmet loss, and that's going to be meds used up. But Buriram's bomb closer into the center of the circle finds themselves pinned in between 4AM and Damwon Kia directly towards the south.
And Under right now is very hungry for this, as you can see him push right onto Buriram's God Meow. A little bit focused on Under's teammates. Under has the angle here. He's going to get the knock with the barrel. He gets the flush as well as he waits for Kanoxi to peek, but Kanoxi pulling back, and now hearing Noadra drive up, priming a grenade. Looking for more opportunities to take. This is the Damwon that we've been needing to see, Cam. This is the smart play, aggressive, patient, not taking too many unnecessary risks and being rewarded for it.
Really worried about Buriram's own rotation. They're caught between the rock and a hard place, because remember, 4AM is just to the north of them, and they have the high ground. Sure, they were able to get that knock onto Xiaolu, I believe it was, but that means that Buriram has announced their position of 4AM. I think with this circle shift, we are going to see not just Buriram try and leave this situation smartly so, but also 4AM clearing the path of them to rotate up through the north and get closer towards this next phase 2 circle, which centers up around that very sharp rock ridge just to the east of El Pozo.
And with this becoming an El Pozo circle, it is going to be a lot of big open field rotations, as we can see LG Divine going up through a field, and Kia once again finding themselves on top of yet another team, still trying to rotate in around the edge. It looks like they're going to choose to stay the course here and maybe try to pick up some damage or kills, at least grab some information on Detonation Gaming, as they're going to go ahead and attempt to drive off. We see some shots out from Indigo onto C's, trying to see if they can get him knocked out. They've taken out a tire, but C's still at 100% health as they pull back up here into the power grid.
I like this stop by Kia. They had a really nice angle on the players, Detonation Gaming, trying to deal a little bit of damage to them, trying to catch them off guard. And so taking a quick opportunity to try and find a knock or two if you can't take it is really, really smart. Good use of opportunity delivered to them. And I'm actually surprised that C's was able to get out of there with nary a scratch on him. But Kia not overextending there. Welcome. They're going to be rotating up towards the north, which is clear for them. And now Furia driving around, unable to find a spot for themselves, because we did just see TSM find a location to the south of them in Monte Nuevo proper. And this position that Furia is now forced into is a strong position in the late game. But until it gets to that point, yeah, look, VP, they're proving my example. They have such an open angle onto this position with the circle as open as it is right now. Furia is going to have a difficult time staying alive.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point. In the late game, that is a fantastic position. We've seen teams win games from that position, but VP has full line of sight on this. And once those smokes run out, there's not going to be too much safety except the remnants of their cars that are going to be used for hard cover. But right now, K7 coming onto the backside of that might provide a little bit of pressure and thus attention away, giving Furia, an opportunity to move around. We do still have TSG that does need to come in from the south, so Furia needs to be a bit mindful of that. And back over to 4 a.m. Now, it's great to see that Lou did get revived onto that. Lou had a great day in terms of kills for the bottom 16 for 4 a.m. yesterday, picking up 8 kills, and has been a very great fragger for his squad thus far at the event. And it's always rough when you lose a top fragger on your team to find those scoring opportunities.
Furia smartly, intelligently, very welcomely leaving that ditch of death that they were trapped in for a quick moment there. What they don't know, apparently, is that TSM actually leading Montenuevo, so... Whew, but hold on to that, though, because Lou gets tagged a second time, and this time it is going to be a full fatality confirmed by Fergus there. So a very nice point picked up by DXG. They will take that gladly any day. And so now 4 a.m. down to 3, a little bit of an overextension by Lou. I can see the rest of 4 a.m.'s teammates, and they are way far away from where that kill happened. Very greedy by 4 a.m., and they were, of course... as you can guess it, punished for it, but the next shift, virtually dead center.
Rough.
Big open field in the center of everything. Even if Divine and AAA, they might have the first chance, first grab at that position, I don't know if anyone's going to be taking it just yet. I think most of the combat here is going to be around E36's hill, as well as the west side where SDK and Attack All Around are currently putting themselves.
And, FaZe as well as TSM trying to play off this hill, the other real big structure that would be a great anchor point for this type of zone, especially since we're only in phase 3, so we'll have quite a few more shifts out in this area. But FaZe playing a little bit smart, trying to take the cover of this vehicle. We can even see them pulling the car in to try to keep all of those tires safe so that they have an escape just in case they need it. Because again, this is still kind of near the edge. We've got so many more circle shifts to go. That said, with a few teams now going into town, that means that everybody who is left has no choice but to wrap onto each other. As you see K7 losing one here, Detonation Gaming investigating. They're coming up to the top side of VP's compounds, potentially stopping short here in this dip, which is a great place to play from the edge if they can keep an eye out for Malier, who is, I believe, just on the other side of that. We can see as well DXG starting to see how close they can get the pulse of it. AAA is set up right now, and they are applying the pressures. It looks like Jenku getting a couple shots off, but hasn't found a knock just yet.
We're seeing so many teams get so uncomfortably close to each other, and that's strictly because of the lack of space available for teams to take in the center. Everyone is being pushed towards these outside areas. And this is, as you mentioned, still phase 3. The fact that we could potentially see GEX and Detonation Gaming have an engagement here on the edge is ridiculous. But TSM, they're defending their compound from a breach by TSG. Good knock by actually 2 of their members, but it is going to get traded momentarily by Peng.
And the trade comes, and there goes a nade. Miraku taking out Sia, and that is a flush. They are going to be able to get that res up. Stay for strong. TSM, great job defending that compound. Additionally, now it looks like Malier actually is starting to push up onto DGW. They have heard him as well as the rest.
Raspu?
Looks like there were... Oh. All right, you know what, Fury, and this is what Fury likes to do. They see something happen in the kill feed, and they look for that opportunity to skill, but we're going to go back to this fight one more time with Detonation Gaming, as Jax is just going to try and send it, but it looks like Detonation was waiting for them here. Machao picks up 1 kill, tries to flush, gets a second here. Just actively working for the third as we switch back one more time to the TSM. It looks like they're still defending the compound off from Furia. Looking for another angle on this as Raspu is reloading. They're looking for a big opportunity to kill out here, and it looks like, there we go, kill Demo out from afar, taking shots. He's going to try to pull up to rejoin them here on the compound. Wookie is going to be forced out behind the... Oh, not quite sure whose nade that was. It looks like Wookie's going to take a quick chance to heal, and with that, the circle is going to shift. And it's good for TSM, but bad for all of the teams out to the north.
So Furia already got those 2 kills off of the hand of Raspu against TSM, but with the circle shift this way, FaZe are going to want to be able to take this fight. And Furia's approach to the compound hasn't been as quickly as they would have wanted to, so a lot of shots coming their way. I'm surprised that not a single member of Furia has been knocked just yet. But FaZe, they're going to be pushing onto this. You can see last remaining members of TSM, they are bailing from this compound. If Fury able to spot that, this does mean they could put full focus onto FaZe, and I think TSM are actually trying to assist them.
Oh, that vehicle explosion just helped Necro out. Had it exploded in the door, he would not have been able to leave that shack, as I see Fury trying to regroup from this, and FaZe Clan looking for that scoring opportunity. They waited so patiently to leave their compound, and this is going to be a great angle to play from. Meanwhile, looks like Batulins is going to pick one off of K7. Savior getting taken out. Hyrusum's actually going to get the flush there. And I feel for K7. They've really been trying to find a place to play from comfortably. But as you said, everybody is kind of suffocating one another. As you see Uba now switching to the throwables, trying to figure out where K7 is. It's just going to be a little bit too wide from their rotations. K7 has continued to wrap back around this. So we can see Buyu just quickly trying to get that last heal off before they take the push here onto FaZe, but throwables galore. Uba is just throwing everything at the dip right now. Back to the barrel. See if we can find the Pete, and we can even see out of this 4 a.m. He's peeking this out at third party, but FaZe is going to go ahead and get that push. Fuzzface taking out Lockslock and Booyahoo, and that is at 4K7.
Good double spray down by Fuzzface to finish that off. But you could see from 4AM's own perspective, K7 were not in a comfortable position at all. They had maybe a square foot to play around with where they wouldn't have been actively peaked by 4AM and FaZe. But FaZe, of course, took matters into their own hands and went hyper aggressive, which means that they can now put attention back onto Fury if they wanted to, but it's actually a pretty peaceful relationship between those two teams on the south side so far, because with that shift towards the southwest, most of the teams are going to be coming in from the north and the east. We see a lot of teams crowding out El Pozo, but as you can see on the map, very, very little of it. I don't think you could even call any of the city is actually in this next circle.
TSM and FaZe were really smart to grab those compounds early on in Phase 2 as the circle has shifted back away. It's going to give them high ground, extra cover to play from, and we see the high ground right now coming into aid for LG Divine. This is try to rain down throwables onto VP, but into the smokes. Using a quick opportunity to regain their strength, and Uba actually does have an angle onto this, taking out shots. Looks like he's actually hit a couple there with the Mini 14, and Detonation is just going to drive up to this, because you know what? Why not? They've got the guns out, throwables as well. Let's see if they're ready to take this fight out. It's a flashbang right there onto VP, followed immediately by Ine. They are going to pick up one on the knock. Gokuri picks up Hyruzen. So we see more throwables out. It looks like smoking out for themselves and protection from third party. You can see the mollies right now just raining down. It's going to pick up the flush onto Hyruzen and Batulins. Looking for another angle onto this, but Detonation Gaming Whites picks up another Malofo. Finding out the knock at LG Divine. DGW tearing apart VP. It's left down to just one.
It's carnage everywhere because Kia have to make their way in from the north side just as VP are being cleared out on the south. STK are able to wipe out a number of different teams, including Attack All Around, who just took care of Buriram. Virtus.pro do finally go down. There's chaos everywhere because of the lack of available space. So many teams are forced to go into the field, and we're seeing the results of that. Kia just barely surviving, finding some place to live even for just a breath because the circle has gotten even smaller.
Detonation Gaming White still trying to play off the edge here, just outside of LG Divine's eyesight. Meanwhile, TSM pushing out of their compound as Iros and Wookie Bookie, the last two still up, are going to go and just full send it on to STK, who are looking to take the spot from them, trying to take out the high ground from the zone. We can see Luke 12 going wide, trying to spot out Iro. As the throwables are out, that Molotov just going a little bit too far. There's a flashbang right on top of them, though. The push still hasn't come yet from Shoot to Kill. Alo now joining Luke 12 as they continue to bombard him with flashbangs, waiting for that push to come. You can see Iro's vest is completely damaged, but he's got gun out, waiting for the shots. Luke 12 is going to take him out there, and there you have it. TSM eliminated. Wookie Bookie did get the 12, but not before being taken down by Pinta.
A little bit of a grenade prep by Fury. You mentioned just previously on their approach to TSM, they see action kill feed. They want to try to capitalize, and they're capitalizing with more throwables onto STK's position. How does it feel, Purdy? Getting grenades thrown right at your feet. He is able to stay alive for now. A little quick by Penta is not without its own risks, as he has to prone back down to heal up. I don't know if Fury or STK are going to want to push too aggressively on this, at least Furion, because they are comfortably in the circle, even though it is closer towards the edge. FaZe, however, also sitting pretty, focusing on a couple of different teams, but they're not putting themselves in too big of a risk by shooting at both DGW as well as Fury on the west.
DGW, I think, is playing this as smart as they can right now. They've got a good edge to play from out of line of sight from the rest of the teams. Just wait for the circle to move. We've got 30 seconds until it goes, and it could be a hard shift in any direction. Are we going to have a field finish? Is this going to continue to stay on the mountainous hills and dips that so many players are trying to fight for right now? As I see, Detonation is just going to send it right to the base of FaZe. They know exactly where FaZe is. They've been watching these fights going on. They've been participating in these fights. You can see right away, throwables coming back out, hoping to catch one. And it's going to be Michelle that goes down, but actually from LG Divine, as they've been watching for this to come out as well. There you go, another flash onto Uba. And still lives this one out. Meanwhile, 4AM is eliminated out by Furia.
FaZe, they are taking a beating right now. DGW's approach is incredibly strong, and they're consistently leaving a player on the back to try and get that secondary angle, but Divine, of course, are going to be approaching onto Bango. Curry is going to go down because of it. Malofo finds a sneaky angle onto Gustav. Uba's trying to rotate back to capitalize and try and keep his team alive, and that is going to be the case found by 8C. But FaZe have not gone without their licks, losing a player, still S3, and the next circle is going to be shifting away from their hilltop towards Kia, who are sitting, I don't want to say comfortably, but relatively healthy, all things considered, in the field.
I think the biggest issue for Kia right now is that they do have their players spread just a bit. So as all of these teams that we're currently watching right now finish up their fights and have to come down the hill, Kia does run the risk of getting picked back off. So we can see right now, though, FaZe turning their sights right back to Furia, who's choosing this once again as a time to wrap. They see action in the kill feed. They want to be a part of it. They want to take down teams while they're vulnerable. And Necro's still trying to use what's left of this high ground lip to spot out FaZe, but they're just a little bit too slow up behind him. Smoke's coming out, trying to draw back the attention of to FaZe. They still need to get themselves into the zone. 1 minute and 30 seconds until the blue finishes closing out. We see somehow FaZe still has throwables left, and they're going to return fire onto Fury as the flashbangs come back out. Smoke's helping Fury out just a little bit as Fuzzface going wide, looking for an angle onto here to see Necro kill demo. Spotting him out, but Fuzzface can't find the knock just yet. Switching back one more time to another flashbang, hoping this might be enough to take that push back onto Fury, get a knock here as 2 more flashbangs come back out. Fuzz looking a little bit too far low. He wasn't anticipating where they were. It is going to get taken down. Flush coming out from Necro, but 8C responds in kind, taking down Raspu, is killed. Getting 8C and Uba last up, but not for long. FaZe Can is eliminated. We have our top 4 here. Furia, LG, Divine, STK, and Damwon. Kia, STK, though, still looking moderately healthy as they've got 4 standing strong at the top of the hill and seeing what they can take down.
Divine here approaching Furia. They watch that fight and are happy to pick up the scraps. Furia, though, aren't as wounded as I think Divine would have wanted. They only had Raspu get dropped. Have to get picked up. Look at the amount of throwables being thrown into Furia's position, and look how close Furia's positioning happens to be. One stray Molotov, one stray grenade could be the end of the entire team. Rusty Zero is trying to take point, trying to keep Divine backed off, but I think it's more so the blue zone that is keeping the rush of LG Divine from coming over to Furia's position. The smoke as well certainly doesn't hurt things. Raspu unfortunately does go out to the blue, unable to revive because of the threats from all the different directions.
I mean, Furia has done the best job here wrapping themselves in and around all of these teams, that they've got the tiniest lip of safety to play on, with still a 4-stack of SDK, a 4-stack of LG Divine, everybody looking at the way, even Kia taking shots into this. One throwable is all it's going to take down Furia. We can see Levis. He's just, you know what? Let's go for it. Finds one, picks up a second, maybe. There you go. The squad fight coming out on the Furia, but immediately starting to get punished out from afar. STK still with an angle on this. 8 kills.
Lean as you like it for Divine, and not a moment too soon either. Fortunately. Levi's does go down to Seongjang. STK with 4 up still in a really strong position to not just wipe the rest of Divine, but then put up a decent fight against Kia. The problem is, Kia have such a wide spread. That is the only thing going for them because the field has 0 cover, but it is also the only proper position in the circle. JN now goes down. It is just Turtle left, and you can see STK, and I imagine Kia as well, know exactly where he is hiding in behind that smoke. What sort of fight is he going to be able to put up? It's going to be a difficult one.
Oh, shots into Turtle, and now Shoot to Kill can turn their attention to Damwon Kia, standing 4 strong onto 9 kills. They have an idea, as you said, where they are, but there is just a bit of a spread here. If one member of Kia goes down, there's no chance of a res. STK just need to focus on one player at a time. It looks like Indigo is the closest out as Pintalo taking a couple shots actually towards Under out in the middle. Halo actually getting a little bit of loot left from that crate. So this is going to be a slow push for them. There's no need just yet to move. We're still phase 7. We've got one more phase before even getting to the small micro circle, so they can take all the time they need for this.
Problem is they're running out of terrain. They got to find these small little key moments that they're not going to get spotted by any of the members of Kia. And it's basically an Orion's belt through the entire field right now that Damwon are holding on to. Sungjong, a couple of shots. He had a quick angle, but it's all on Indigo. Will he be the surprise factor for Kia? Pretty Curdy might actually be able to spot him out from that angle, but that's why Under is trying to keep him distracted.
Under continuing to take shots onto Luke 12, who, as we saw earlier, is just completely lost his helmet. Now Under getting rid of that just then. His vest is broken, so it's a bad armor situation for SDK here, something that Damwon Kia can take advantage of. We've talked so much about what we want to see from Damwon Kia. 10 kills. This is a great match for them. Can they pull off the win? Can SDK pull off another win? Find out in just a moment as it can, again, teams still taking this very patiently. And as I say that, I think Shoot to Kill might be looking for another angle onto Damwon here, but as you said, trying carefully not to overexpose themselves as well.
Have one vehicle to work with for a little bit of mobile cover. The shift, most recent shift for phase 8 does help them out a little bit. Doesn't go too far into the field that they lose all of the terrain that they could work around with. The big advantage, though, that you have to remember is SDK still have 4 to 3, even if they do lose one guy in the very beginning of finding out where every single member of Kia is. That is essentially a resource that you could argue is usable in that situation. Since they've got to run out, count where all the shots are. Don't actually do this. I'm just trying to illustrate a point here. Pretty Curdy, though, is going to be grouping back up with this squad. That far angle isn't very useful to him anymore. And really, it's just waiting to see if Kia want to overpeak, if they can't find an opening knock to really break the entire thing wide open.
Shoot to Kill hurting just a bit. They do have a Murado to work with as an extra bit of utility. Indigo still at the base of this hill. And Circle is closing in. Blue starting to bite at the heels of Shoot to Kill. They've got zone, but from here, they've got to start moving forward as we continue to see more shots being taken out. Still plenty of ammo. Not too concerned in that regard at this moment, but Indigo is just patiently waiting for SDK to crest that hill. I mean, if anything, the two big things that have always hurt these teams have been on the times when they take things a little bit too quickly. They don't quite think these through. So to see them play this game patiently in that beautiful headshot, look at that, 9 HP. Under should have been dead to rights, but his armor is going to be bashed out here. So even the odds here, I don't know if Purdy saw Indigo there.
I think he did. He's been checking that angle for a while, even when he was far off on the east side. But yeah, I think that was just barely maybe a neck shot or a shoulder shot coming out from the AWM. So Under, I think, is incredibly lucky to be still standing here, and Pretty Curdy wants another crack at it, wants another go at it.
Setting up for the shot, but not taking it just yet. There we go. Smoke walls starting to come out now from Under. Damwon just trying to give themselves a little bit extra cover. The Blues still pushing in just a bit slowly. Shoot to Kill. Needing to make that move, and we see bringing out the Murado. But not taking a full send just yet. Indigo playing the snake game, trying to see if he can get a better angle on to Shoot to Kill as they continue to wrap back around. Under feeding that information out to Indigo. Try to play from, as we see Shangjan is going to bleed back out now, and it is a 4v2. Damwon Kia is going to make the push, so Indigo finds one, almost gets pinted down low, but he's got to pull back for safety. Primes that grenade, getting ready to throw. He knows exactly where SDK is. If this nade could land, that could be huge, but it goes just too far. Indigo down to 21 HP. Alo is just going to full out set it, see if he can take down Indigo down as he's stopping. He heals, spots them out, and winner chicken dinner. Shoot to Kill cleaned this up. Get another chicken dinner added to their name.
I got a little worried at the end there. So SDK were playing in that end game incredibly conservatively, and that's what you want to do in that situation. They didn't overextend, they didn't get greedy, they didn't get impatient with their approach onto Kia. They knew that Kia had every advantage if SDK needed to actually get into the field itself. So they waited for Kia to be the ones to make those first moves, trade the shots back and forth, and SDK with their man advantage able to get that first knock onto Xiangjang. Indigo then, I think if he approached just a little bit earlier, he would have had perhaps a better opportunity, but he was really the linchpin there. And the fact that SDK was able to survive through that engagement from that peak by Indigo, it was a very tight survival. It was very close. I think that grenade had an opportunity potentially to get 2 knocks there, and I think that would have been it for SDK, but fortunately for them, they are able to stabilize everything at the end. They are able to come out with the win, the second win for them this weekend, I believe.
Yeah. Well, as you said, great performance there by SDK and Dom1 in the end, but we're going to toss that basket desk and see what they have to think about it.
Thank you so much. That is a hellaciously cruel place to have to play at. We've often seen that the fields that are over just that southeast area of Pozo just are just a difficult place to play. And while we were watching this, it felt like every single second there was some new interesting point to talk about. But I'm going to go ahead and start it off. He's been your boy, Pentalol, Godspeed. You've been talking him up, and he had a phenomenal game this last round.
I am just really, really happy for that kid, man. I love Penta. I know I call him a kid. He's obviously not. He's not a kid, but I've just been Penta. Man, super hype. I was talking to you guys about it in the green room. Just to see him succeed and to play with a team like STK is great. And obviously, so far it seems like he's fitting the role really, really well. I don't know, Fraz, what do you think about Penta in that role?
I mean, talking about Penta and him coming into this team like this, it's not like we're seeing the team underperforming. They're still performing to the same level that we saw them do with Uncivil. And this is something that is very hard for someone coming into a team, just subbing in and straight away being able to carry on such a hard position. And not just like, you're not just trying to like imitate that you're Uncivil. He's actually playing a larger role here, trying to fit into the team, but also making sure that he's not just fitting into the team, but also that everybody else knows, all right, we don't need to change anything for Penta, because Penta is adapting to us all the time, and we just really make sure we can keep on still playing our game together with him.
Well, while we're still following up on that, talking about shoot to kill players, Purdy with a bolt there for a second. I know got all three of us pretty excited. We're hoping to see something come out from it, but Purdy just continues to impress time and time again, Godspeed.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he was bolting was just it's just odd, because I haven't personally seen Purdy bolt that much. I'm not saying he can't bolt, but the other thing as well is just how it's so devastating to play against an in a closing circle like that, especially when it's like a 3-on-4 or 4-on-4, because one shot can literally change the course of a fight. And we saw Purdy do a lot of damage to vests in general over the course of that fight. And I think it was actually Fraz that also pointed out that Luke had a gross house, so STK were pretty kidded going into that end game. But yeah, seeing Purdy bolt and do a lot of damage and continuing to do his thing has been great as well.
So, okay, we've went on the hiatus right over there. We were talking about shoot to kill, phenomenal plays coming out from them. They're still going to be in a perfectly fine position holding up that top spot. But Kia walking away with 10 kills, under having a phenomenal performance, and that sneaky play from Indigo that almost managed to turn the whole game on its head whenever he got the shots back over towards Purdy Curdy. I mean, is this the start of something coming up from Kia? Have they finally gotten their feet underneath of them?
I gotta say, we gotta rewind this a little bit back to the game, and we gotta go back to Circle 3, I think it was, or Circle 2, when they were on the east side, just basically south of San Martin. They were there, they were trying to fight Burrow for basically nothing. The circle pops away, and Damo Kia is still there, doing nothing. And they let teams like DGW just rotate past them, and both me and Godspeed was like, what are they doing? Why are they doing this? They're not doing anything at all. And that ended up, instead of them being like one of the first team into the circle, they were one of the last teams, because they waited so long to rotate in. And because of that, they had to come in, they had to fight hard from the north side through the fields, which they did a phenomenal job. being able to take out all of the teams, being able to just prevail while getting shot by teams like STK, and then taking out 4AM, take their prime position there and play like they did with Indigo, as you're saying, just prone there. That was such a key component to actually try to win the game. But sadly, it didn't work out because Luke, he had the angle on Indigo. So whenever Indigo actually popped up there, he had to get like 2 knocks straight away. If that didn't happen, it wasn't going to be.
We kept watching this, and as the circle kept bouncing between different locations, there was a different favorable person that we thought was going to come out on top. We thought FaZe had strong position. There was a period where 4AM had it. Godspeed. We don't have a lot of time before this next round starts off. What's it like to have to play in that section of the map with that field in the middle of a valley with just people surrounding?
It's very difficult, especially if a team like Damonkia or 4AM before them had set up in it. FaZe actually, Froz and I both really loved FaZe's position. The problem is once the circle shifted a little further north, not only did it kind of cut out some of their playable area, but it also pinched in between 2 separate teams. And Furia, actually, we didn't get to touch upon them, but Furia played that really well overall, and they ran over FaZe as well as most of the other teams on the south side. So kudos to them. But yeah, that's just a really rough circle to play because if you're not already set up in the field, as you can see, you basically have to fight through multiple teams, which we saw SDK do, obviously the inevitable winners. But yeah, it's just a rough circle. You have to fight in that circle. There's no avoiding it.
We're setting up the next series of fights. We've got Cammy D and Clover getting everything set for match number 6. This will be the last one on Miramar before we make our way over towards Go. You guys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Match and Froz, and Godspeed. And Cameron, I mean, we obviously had a really great game this last one. This is a decent flight path. It's going to put a lot of things back into play, and I think as well, give some more teams more opportunities to try to get those scores. We heard the team talking a little bit about what next week means, and you know, next week we're going into the penultimate. This is going to be the second to last chance for big money back down, and you want to have as many scoring chances to not only get into the finals, but maybe pick up some money along the way, right? Get into those first 2 days, get a couple extra $1,000, and take home the big prize pool.
Yeah, and SCK, of course, putting themselves in a great position after that second win there, but can they or triple up, rather? Can they get themselves a third here on Miramar? Open playing path, as you said. And they're actually going to a totally new location, going to Impala this time around, avoiding their previous drop zone. I mean previously, but in the historical sense, that's where 4AM have been looting up this whole weekend. They have a fair bit of area to play around with on this east side. They're a little close to Detonation Gaming, just to their southwest. Luke especially is getting a little bit towards danger zone, but Detonation Gaming going to be looting up Los Leones, and so they really shouldn't be fighting over too much outside of perhaps a vehicle, as I imagine what Luke is going for right now.
Circle pops, and that's looking good for SDK and Detonation Gaming. They won't have to move just start, and Dom1 Kia, who came close to a victory, was going to take center circle along with TSM. So, you know, real quick, though, to touch kind of back on Shoot to Kill, this is a great performance from them this weekend. I think that it's really unfortunate to see them back down here. There was a lot of close opportunities for them to make a play that would have gotten them a chicken dinner during the weekly finals, but things just quite didn't work out in their favor. There's been a lot of conversation about Pentalol kind of coming into this role, replacing Uncivil. But when you look at the way that SDK are playing, Penta is fitting right in perfectly. He is always near the top in kills and damage thus far this weekend. This weekend, he's finding opportunities to be useful and in the right place. And I think that right now, the only thing that Shoot to Kill just kind of really needed was that honeymoon period to adjust just a little bit from having him in versus Civil.
Right now, as well, as you mentioned, they've had a long time to try and get everything slotted in. In fact, these 4 members have been playing together for quite a while, definitely longer than the new SDK roster change. And so I'm hoping to see if they can't utilize this more central position right off the bat to put themselves in a good spot. But FaZe coming in hot the start of yesterday, actually all day yesterday, and actually had a solid run just the previous game. Unfortunately, compared to Kia and STK, FaZe are not in this first circle. It is just phase 1 on Miramar, so that's not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination. It's just trying to find a path into the circle that not only puts you in a strong position, but also helps you avoid any unnecessary engagements. Just think back to how K7, how their path went just the previous game. They were their plan A, that was taken by a team. Plan B, that was taken by a team. Plan C, that was taken by a team, and they ended up with, I think, maybe 0 points, maybe 1 or 2 at the very end of things. And so that's the real goal of the very beginning of the game, is putting yourself in a position for the dominoes to fall in a less bad way, no matter where the circle ends up shifting.
I think Godv, a little practice shots there from his from his gun as he's getting into the vehicle now. Godv, you know, took a bit of a break. He was sick. He was out, and 4am struggled a little bit without him. Having Godv back, 4am's kind of struggling again. You've got to kind of wonder, did they put a lot of effort in getting used to playing without Godv? Now that he's back, things are a bit off. Or maybe Godv still isn't feeling 100%, but whatever it is, to see 4am down near the bottom, which means very few chances to get into the finals next week. If they stay in 14th place today, that is going to be absolutely brutal, as they're only going to get the last day to play.
Well, 4am have always been I don't want to say feast or famine, but very hit or miss, hot and cold team. They are either on or they are off, and it's incredibly difficult to basically predict whether they're going to do well or not in any given event, because you can honestly never tell. They could bomb out in last place, but they can also really pop off, get a bunch of kills, get a bunch of good solid placements under their belt. And so it's weird to say this, but this fluctuation in performance is right on brand.
You know, probably the time to be on brand that you don't want to be, right? Change that to a team where you're always hot, you're always on. You know, that's what 4am fans are feeling right now. On the flip side of that, LG Divine having a great showing thus far this weekend, presently sitting in 4th place with 36 kills. They've had a bunch of rough starts, like, you know, decent way of finding their way into the late game, oftentimes not on a heavy kill that we have seen them popped off a couple of games. And of course, you know, I think more than once, Turtle has been in a situation where he just unfortunately loses out on a battle or a fight that you really hate to see. And so, you know, this whole lobby is kind of a story you know, are filled rather with Cinderella stories from teams that are kind of coming from nothing, suddenly having a great showing, and teams that have thus been great or have great expectations that are not quite meeting them just yet. Now, real quick, K7 out on a bit of a scouting mission, getting slightly close to 4am, but it looks like they'll still try to play out the edge of San Martin, send it south, and Lou waiting just yet. It looks like Forever coming out on the backside of this. I'm not quite sure if 4am is hoping to capitalize on anything here to K7, or just making sure that they leave the areas they can continue to play out from these crossroads.
I think actually Forever and the rest of 4am were trying to group up on Dejalu's position, because K7 perhaps sticking around just a little bit too long. 4am waiting to see if maybe we can find an opportunity here. If we roll up quick, we can find a kill or two before K7 make their way out. But fortunately for K7, timing is on their side, at least for this particular moment, and they do rotate away before it is too late. Find themselves a quick position to get into Graveyard. Not one of the easiest to hold spots, doesn't have amazing strengths in this circle, but it's definitely better than any position on the edge, or rather a lack of position at all. But you can see that they're actually extending their position just a little bit in a 2, do you want to say that 1.5? Just Burihu and Zednan, they're not so separated that I want to call it a 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an easy regrouping right there for Buriram. Well, rather for a lot of those teams, right? But it's getting crowded, and I think especially with this phase 1, the way that phase 2 can often pop is that I'm anticipating a hard shift. These zones very rarely stay center, though we do occasionally see that graveyard shift. But there's a lot of big potential here, and as you said, you know, even last game, teams are going to try to get as center as possible so that they can anticipate where that circle is going to go next, and not entirely be caught out by those insane hard shifts that Miramar can have to the scale that the map is.
Yeah. We saw just very quickly Penta, actually, and I think Purdy Curdy, one of those two, scouting out a compound that we are all so familiar with, the big open fields just to the southeast of Minas Generales. So often, just because of the way that the land ratio works and the way that the unscalable mountains in this area work, it forces the circle to go into that particular position. Whether the new circle settings are going to have it be as common as it has been for the longest time, we are going to have to see. And there's also no confirmation that the game is going to finish in that area just yet, because it is still only phase 1. But good on SDK to make sure it's clear at least at the start in case they do need to quickly rotate into that area. And good on Fuzzface to try and get out of this position. You just saw him take a couple of cheeky shots onto Furia, holding up on the high ground. Royce Zero is going to heal up from those bullets that he unfortunately had to take to the chest.
And, you know, I mean, again, talking about making sure to pull back into safety, not taking any unnecessary risks this early on. It's only phase 1. There's no need to lose a player for a kill this early on. The circles will push you into other teams for an opportunity later. But getting as much information, maybe doing a little bit of damage, making things harder for those other teams, and letting them know, hey, I'm here, this is my space, is always really helpful. And I was going to see a little bit of that coming out right now from Global Esports X, that as they're taking shots onto VP. Oh, looks like he spotted a buggy.
Not the easiest shots to hit, but fortunately it is a stationary target, and so given enough time, you should be able to calibrate exactly where you need your reticle to be to take those tires out. And if you see a car, listen, I have been the biggest proponent of shooting tires for the longest time, but Eddie, he wants to shoot enemies. Volibear does go down right before he crests over that ridge line, and I don't think TSG are in a position. Oh, no, absolutely not. I'm glancing over at the map, and the rest of TSG, they are nowhere to be seen. Eddie getting the flashy execution with the front of his vehicle, not even bothering to go back and pick up that loot.
You asked earlier about Buriram's split. Obviously, Edie is completely fine on his own. The rest of TG, as we see out there, way past Junkyard in the circle, is going to center itself up just a bit north of Minas onto 4AM's compounds. And that means that FaZe, who is playing out down to the south, is going to have to work once again towards the rotation as the circle pulls back away for them right now. See Gustav with a line of sight onto LG Divine as they work on that rapid rotation. FaZe trying to figure out where the rest of them is. Spots out Levis. And we see TSM working their way up to Minas as well, though Buriram is a little bit close. Oh, down one Kia is as well, excuse me.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams all rotating in through this exact same road. It could give K7 and especially Buriram a nice opportunity to pick up a couple of rotational kills. I'm worried about Buriram's big white split, though. They're grouping up a little bit, I guess, in two separate pairs, but they are so separated. But look how juicy these TSM snacks look. Naradra really wants to get a knock here. Kanoxi in a great position to follow up as well if he gets even just a little bit of damage.
Nawadra playing the Mountain Goat, has AX on the Mini 14 right now. Watching TSM hasn't taken shots just yet, but TSM's actually getting a little bit close to the rest of the split by Buriram, though Vard choosing to take it wide. So I think the information might be calling out just a bit there. Edie's actually going to have an angle onto Vard there. We'll get a couple shots into him. Vard finding safety out here in the shanty town as the rest of TSM, and as he kind of talked about with that Buriram, you know, it's a very ambitious split. It's going to be great for information gathering in this circle. And I think we might see them stay this way at least through phase 3 or 4. 4 right now, I think they can pull it off just a bit longer. But as we start to get into those smaller and smaller circles where it gets a bit more crowded, still a 63 alive Buriram will want to collapse down and regroup. But Fury right now taking that rotation and then pull it back away from detonation.
Yeah, just rooping up just a little bit towards the north, sending the first two out to go find the compound, and I imagine the other two are going to follow up not too long after. FaZe also making a northern transition, a northern migration, empty space ahead of them, but unfortunately they've had to let the teams in this area have that opportunity to move up to the north and then wait for them in order to have that clean backfill. So FaZe, I was talking about the early game goal for them and any other team that's not in the first phase. It's about finding yourself in a position to be a good shot at finding yourself in a decent actual position in the next circles preceding the first one. And right now, I'm not very comfortable with their spot. It is phase, so they can fight themselves out of many a terrible position. But it's having to fight early on that a lot of teams are really, the goal is to try and avoid that.
And LG Divine, we saw staying in the blue just a bit to try and avoid it, as well as they're going to stop real quick, just get a quick scope, see what there is to play from. Additionally, there go DXG, also rotating just ahead of the blue, but getting themselves close to Triumph at Song Gaming, as Sean John taking a few shots there with the SKS. And again, mostly superficial, peacocking, letting him know, hey, our compound is taken, don't come here, don't stay here, and maybe if they're lucky, pop a tire, get a knock, but... for right now, teams are just getting themselves situated.
EXG definitely trying to find themselves situated in this circle, scouting out. They got shot from the south. Are we going to get shot from any other direction? Right now, it's just a scouting mission for them and any other team that's just rotating in on the edge, including Furia, who are actually staying in a 2-2 split. I think their lead, they left Rasmussen kill Demo towards the south for information play, but the circle is going to center up almost exactly just to the northwest of Minas Generalis, and there's a big section of unplayable land there. So I think 4 AM have the best position here, K7 as well, potentially.
We saw VP sent too to try to investigate 4 AM's compound, but it was immediately met with gunfire out by Lou as the rest of 4 AM pulls back. I think they anticipate that more teams are going to start to investigate, so they want to make sure they've got 4 strong. K7 starting to suffer the same issues right now as Detonation got a little bit close for comfort, but who is going to push him out there with the M4 spray, getting a bit of damage. Hasn't found a knock just yet, but more shots. Look at that Gokuri down to 1 HP. 1 bullet's all it's going to take to get that knock onto him, but Detonation is going to continue forward onto this. And this is almost a repeat of last game. A couple of teams out very open circles, not really having a place to put down. Every place that they kind of come up to is occupied, and they're going to have to go from plan A to plan B to plan C.
God, that Detonation game in position is not really that strong, but the fact that that was the only place that they could go to just shows how open this area is. It's not open of it being a wide, flat field, but it's not too far from it. There's a little bit of elevation changes with the rocks and the hills, but it's not even close to a mountain position. It's just small little dips and valleys that you could maybe try and find a proning position in. FaZe trying to get themselves in vehicles to rotate through, but I think it's going to be it's going to be just a random send for them to find a spot if they don't want to fight GEX immediately in front of them. Brewerum also committing to this 2-2 split. When you were saying that they would stay into that position throughout Phase 3 and potentially Phase 4, I don't know if I believed you then, but they seem to have that plan ready to go.
Well, that plan better pay off because they're going to have company here in just a moment. As we see, Damwon Kia did get a little bit of loot out of a crate. LG Divine crashing onto half of that 2-2 split for Brewerum, but Godmeow and Edie aren't planning to stay along too long if they can help it, but Godmeow has no choice trying to fight. Pulls out the M4, spots out Turtle. Oh, but just missing that spray as he falls down to 2 HP. We could see Turtle watching, waiting for that peek, but the smoke coming out so we could try to get that heal off Edie. Meanwhile, keeping an eye on Levi's. Oh, more shots out from Turtle. He is going to get the knock onto Edie as he was trying to get that heal. See Godmeow still at 2 HP, but the first aid just finishing to pop off. It's always dangerous being on the top story here, Cameron, as we know teams can try to get you when you try to get back out, but meanwhile, it looks like actually, let's break away now to this fight here with VP and FaZe. FaZe trying to hold the dip here, but VP using gravity and the high ground to their advantage. Throwables out onto FaZe. Oh, getting them low, but haven't found too many knocks just yet. There you go, excuse me. Uba actually gets taken down by Lou.
A lot of damage onto FaZe, not even just from VP, but K7 at long range are finding some angles onto this dip, and this is what FaZe were worried about. Where in the world could they have sent it? And they find themselves a little bit of a bowl to hide in, but Virtus Pro themselves, well, they think that this bowl is quite tasty, and they want to clear it out for themselves.
That's the hard part about FaZe coming in so late. Their options were a bit limited, but K7 coming in behind them gave them a bit of that high ground to play out from. We could see now being third-partied by K7, who's got angle on this. That pressure's going to give 8C just a little bit of breathing room to try to recover, but now you've got Shoot to Kill driving through this very boldly out through the open fields, through the roads, and yet somehow still up, though. As I say this, Jayers really laying into them right now, and here comes the buggy crash. Luko, oh, actually, he's gonna get spit down through a drive-by. Manages to still stay up and alive. Shoot to Kill is just gonna fully crash us, but Jayers has the angle onto Alo, gets the knock. Not quite the flush, he's gonna get traded down. Pintalo picks one up now as well. Shoot to Kill trying to recover this fight as best as they can.
Halo is in a revivable position, so they could easily keep themselves at 4 up. A good recovery there to find that second player inside those cisterns or whatever those big old tube-looking things are called. Jayers also gets confirmed, and 8C's still alive here, back on this FaZe VP fight. But a curious little Kex is slowly sneaking up onto this engagement. And so VP need to make sure that they can finish this quickly, but 8C finds Spyro, could be able to finish one out and find one more point, but watch it for the truck!
Oh, you love to see it, you hate to see it. AC unfortunately gets run over there, and Global Esports waiting for the opportune moment to push onto this as Hyruzen is taken out by Lua, but Batulins, the last still member up for VP, tries to trade that back out on the backside here of Gex. We can just see the bullets hitting the edge of the Shack. Maoye waiting for that peek to come. Leo's got an angle on him too, and Nade comes out to Batulins, but he's not there to receive the damage. Their vehicle for Gex is, however, for Batulins, we can see Batu is so low, and that last nade is gonna do it.
Good cleanup by Gex. They have enough time to get the revives. But over here towards the northeast side, Divine have been pushing in. TSG have been torn to virtual shreds at this point. It is just Peng remaining, and now he's down to 1 HP. The angle found by J-End. And so TSG are eliminated in 13th place. But on the south, the blue pushing in. The blue forcing Furia into K7's position. They have 4 members up. They have 2 kills now that Boohoo has been confirmed. But with the blue at their back, Lockslock and Xenon have an opportunity to deal some heavy blows back to Furia.
Fighting in the blue is never opportune here, and you can see Lockslock just trying to keep up and alive. It might even attempt a res here, as we can even see just out in the back. Furia still has players out in the blue as they try to get a better angle onto this there, as the circle is going to center itself back up onto 4AM's compound, and Kill Demo has a nice angle onto here. Ooh, Lockslock down to 3 AP from that hit. The blue zone is going to do the rest. K7 is eliminated, but unfortunately for Furia, they're going to lose one out of that as well.
Yeah, grenades onto TSM's position. It's just Vard remaining, trying to go for a revive, and they have the luxury of being inside a shack, but that Molotov, I don't think it made its way inside, just barely below the lip, but more grenades, this time from Divine, are continuing to keep TSM from getting their bearings, regaining it.
Oh, and E36 is starting to come onto the backside of this. This is a third party. I think even Detonation Gaming's got a hand into this fight, but Indigo just on the outside of TSM's Shack is going to get that last kill. Takes out Miracle with the nade, but he's got no time. Oh, no. Really do much there. As you see, that Molotov did land on him. LG Divine, J and all trying to do something with this fact. If anything, LG Divine now actually has to split their attention out to E36. He just started taking shots onto them, and that's going to... We'll take that power back away, but Wookie Bookie coming right up onto LG Divine. He doesn't want to wait any longer. Last still member up for TSM. Additionally, Levi's now with the nade back out. Is it good? It is not just too far. And we've got team on team action here in the corner. Levi's falls here. June, last one still up for LG Divine. It is a 1v1v, 2v4. Oh my goodness, LG eliminated out, but Indigo still playing aggressive, trying to spot out Wookie Bookie, but the smoke is coming in. The blue is here. He spots him for a second, but he's gonna fall. Indigo, oh no.
Wookie has been a monster for TSM coming in as a sub, and he is standing his ground here. He has been alive so much longer than he should have had any right to be. Spotted out by Songjiang and very low on HP. I don't know if TSM going to have if Wookie has an opportunity to heal up. Now the blue coming in onto them, he might just have to give himself away to the zone. But look at Kia also bleeding out to the blue zone, running on the open right now.
You hate to see teams put in so much work to stay alive and have that many collapse onto one small area. That wasn't a third party, that was a fifth party. There were so many teams involved in that. We can see Detonation still setting themselves up to receive a couple of teams on the backsides, but undertaking shots into Gokuri. And look at that, under his helmet, his vest, it is broken, it's damaged, and one shot's all it took. Penta actually gonna pick that out. So Damwon Kia goes out early in 8th place this time, but they're looking still bad. I mean, that was the aggressive fights that we've been wanting to see them take. We just, unfortunate, you know, unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a lot of chaos, and so even the better of teams would have a difficult time managing all of that with the blue, with 7 different teams all looking in your direction at your corner. And it's been quiet for a quick moment, but that might just change in a couple of seconds, because the shift towards Detonation Gaming means 4 AM are going to be holding the line against almost every other team here, certainly SDK, GEX, and Furia, who are going to be trying to making their way into the circle. And look at how barren it is. That barrenness does give Detonation Gaming an opportunity to spread out, similar to Kia at the end of the previous game, but that's still not a lot of hard cover.
Furia, if we can see their vehicles, they're pretty badly damaged, so still drivable, still usable, but not the most ideal. Most of the teams playing out on the edge are going to have to take care of each other before they worry about working in the center. I think 4AM might be receiving quite a few neighbors in terms of crashes here momentarily as Phase 6 getting ready to close from the blue zone. We can see every team right now has eyes and sight on every other team in the circle. Every peek is met with a bullet. And E36 is going to be the first ones to move. They found themselves a nice little rock on the edge of the zone. The smoke wall set up to play from, building hard cover out from their vehicles. But Kill Demo on a slight scouting mission to GEX, seeing what he can spot out. It's got the nade, 2 in hand. One more if he wants to do something with it. Waits for it to pop, hoping to spot out Leo, but Gex is going to keep rotating out wide onto this, actually taking themselves towards SDK.
SDK have been taking themselves towards AAA, so this does give a little space for Gex to move away from this engagement and allow the blue to do a little bit of work against Furia, but they are, of course, going to be victims of that zone movement as well. And I don't know if they want to even attempt to approach 4AM's compound with the potential of Furia shooting them in the back. Oh, that looks like a great nade. Oh, yeah, he goes down to Rusty. CC down very low himself, and the follow-up is coming. The continued rush of Brazilian energy is coming in the Marauder, trying to drive by, but that's going to get punished.
Oh, CC takes down Rusty, but not before Rusty picked up a couple, so good trading out there from Furia, but unfortunately they're down to just 2 players, Kildemo and Raspu, left back up. You talked about teams and players that could crash 4AM's compound. Furia is there, but as badly damaged as they want to, I'm not quite sure if that's going to be the take. It might be the only way they can take that. Meanwhile, this fight with Shoot to Kill out onto AAA. We see Pentalo watching. And Windows waiting for Janku to push back out, spotted by Luke 12, and that is a great clear. As we see once again, 4AM watching the combat. They take out one from Furia. On the other end, oh, everybody is falling left and right. There you go, Furia eliminated. We've got our top 4. And everybody is, for the most part, 4 up, except for Shoot to Kill. Still out 2 players, but 2 players that you can't discount just yet. Pentalol getting ready to come out. Crest from the ridgeline. Spots Pure Boy, has to found the Dr. Step, but just as he gets ready to switch weapons, takes some damage out from Sylphia, pulling back. Trying to see if we can get a better angle onto this so we can throw that flashbang push with the barrel. And use that as an opportunity quick to heal. Meanwhile, Luke watching the other angle from this, waiting for Pure Boy to peek out here. Nades, this could be good if it lands. Might be able to take out Sylphia and Pure Boy. See a big trade coming out there. Sylphia coming over the top. He does spot out Penta. He's looking in the wrong direction if he wants to spot Luke as Luke stands. Ooh, gets hit by that flash. Trying to use Interforce's own smokes out to aid him, but oh, Sylphia with a bit of that spray actually is going to find Luke. Luke fighting down to 1 HP, but Pure Boy taking him out as Shoot to Kill is eliminated. And oh, there you go, 4AM sends 1 to investigate.
It wasn't easy for E36. SDK made them work for it, but the man advantage on E36's side certainly helped them out with that. Not to mention Fenta unexpecting as many players to be so close after he was able to get that first knock against that first E36 player. Down to 3 teams left. Amanat for E36 is inside the circle, is able to shepherd the rest of his squad in if they don't get shot at heavily by 4AM, but 4AM trying to make their way into the circle as well, so their sights are currently set on Detonation Gaming. There is the knock going to go Korea. I don't think that Revive is going to be too safe for DGW to go for. Instead, I think this is going to remain S3 on the high ground. Macau getting a nice knock against Sylphia.
Ooh, and that knock
Pure Boy
is
trading it
Pure
back.
Boy. There you go, taking down Machao, and 4AM send Lu out wide along with Forever. They just want to go ahead and start to clear this out, splitting attention between Detonation and E36, as we can see Forever out with the Scar L, waiting for the peak, but there's a lot of smoke right now. Detonation trying to not get spotted by, ooh, Seas has been seen there by Loose, which is once again to the barrel, try to get some control spray into the smoke. Hasn't found a knock just yet, but this is a good angle for him to play from. They only need to focus on Detonation. E36 can't see from where they are. I'm going to see if Machao was spotted back out by Forever. It gets taken down a second time.
2 members of Detonation Gaming remaining, and it's all up to Seas to basically hold the line against the entirety of 4AM, and that's the titanic task to ask of him. Nade brings him down to 50 HP, and I don't know how long he's going to survive, but Lofo's trying to support his teammate, but they are unaware of the approach of E36. Machao is here to try and answer back, but he's not able to get that knock.
E36 didn't want to wait for this fight to end, so they tried to push into this, but Amanat is going to pull back along with Sylphia there. As you see Sylphia get spotted out by Forever, that spin just wasn't enough to keep him up alive. Forever making sure he secures those flushes, picks up the points, doesn't want to give them out to Amanat. Interforce with 3 kills up, but gets spotted out. 4 AM, tired of being at the bottom. Take a chicken dinner here in match number 2 tonight.
Not gonna mince words, 4 AM did get nice support from the circle. Their compound that they grabbed very early on in the game, I think just at the end of phase 1, start of phase 2, was a favored position throughout the entirety of the mid game. But the way they played that end game definitely deserved the win once they put themselves into that position. DGW were in a rough spot. Once they lost that first player up on the high ground, it was all into E36 and 4 AM to essentially, from their own individual directions, push onto the high ground, push onto that hill, and take them apart one by one. And honestly, 4 AM were just a little bit faster, just a little bit cleaner, just a little bit more aggressive on that take, putting themselves in a position to also immediately wrap up the final kills against Enter 36.
I mean, as you said, 4 AM did have that compound, but they used it to their advantage. They made sure that they had that as a tool, and they knew when to leave to secure that chicken dinner. Great work by them through that match, but we've got to give credit where credit is due up to the late game for a couple of those teams that did try to pick back in, rack up kills as well. But you know, with that, we're going to go ahead and toss it back to the desk and see what they had to say about that game.
Thank you so much. That was a spicy one, to say the least. I know there was a lot going on in that, but a key component of it was 4 AM's positioning. Felt like from about circle 4 to 5 in that range, all the teams were just having to contend around where they were and how to fin it up. Like, Froz, kind of walk us through, how do you play around the positions where 4 AM is so defended up in that?
Well, that's the whole thing, right? No one was trying to breach into 4 AM, because if you're breaching 4 AM at that point, what's going to happen is you're going to have people shooting you in the back, or you got to go super deep into that compound itself.
Yep.
And going deep into that compound, it's going to be super rough, because that's where 4 AM is going to be holding you. If you go deep, they're going to have several angles on you, and you're just going to get shut out. So I feel like it was right from what we saw. The other teams, they were just playing around 4 AM, and they were trying to take a position, trying to make everything they could from it. A team like STK being able to drive to the north side of the road, coming from the south side through that gauntlet. It's just amazing to see how they were doing the best out of a very bad situation.
Well, late game, they just came absolutely alive. 4 AM found opportunities and just started kind of taking a death grip on that circle. Godspeed, you were calling it out like every single time they were about to make a move, you knew exactly how they were going to do it. So, like, what was the mindset and the approach that 4 AM just had to run shot through the end of that?
Well, first of all, 4 AM had the awesome ability to basically see the entire circle. You know, they had that foresight to see everything. They knew where most of Detonation Gaming was. They knew where pretty much all of Enterforce was. They had heard the fight earlier on the north where they had wiped out STK. And so having all that information, that's also one of the very few hills to play where having the high ground isn't actually as advantageous as it normally would be. And I mean, most of the crests and peaks that we see in Myanmar, simply because there's so many folds and pockets to play underneath where Detonation Gaming was. And so for them to wrap on the south, once they got that pick, I mean, it was really just their entire spread was so good for that circle, because they had Godvi basically anchoring the north. The rest of the team came on the south. They swept through. Enterforce also helped pinch Detonation Gaming white. And then at that point, I mean, 4 AM was just all over that circle. And that's just very classic 4 AM. They're one of the best teams, you know, to be able to clear out the circle, especially in endgame situations. And I mean, that's just what they did. It was very well played.
Well, I know that there's a lot more that we're wanting to break down. We're about to make our switch back over towards Erangel, so we're going to take a quick break, give the players just a little bit of time to go to the restroom, do anything like that. Make sure you guys grab a drink, come back, hang out with us. It shouldn't be too long. We will see you guys in just a few minutes.
Show me the gamma, I wanna check. Climbing and climbing, humble, yeah. I'm in my squad, feeling like I know I'm the greatest, I crumble, yeah. Made it from the bottom to the top, I did it there. Got these other players, never fighting, breathing for air. Aiming and lock it. Shoot. The winner takes it all. Taking it all. No more breaking in, it's mound black. Are you ready? Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Aim it and lock it. Shoot. The winner takes it all. Taking it all. Shoot. Aim it and lock it. You know that nobody like me, cause I'm faster when I'm stronger. You can have me, let it guarantee. Cause the winner takes it all. You ready?
There we are. We are back, getting everything set up. 2 more rounds still to go in the bottom 16 placement qualifiers. So there is a standout team, Godspeed, that you keep talking about and we haven't had a chance to talk about, and that is Furia. Furia seems to be finding more and more moments to stack up a couple of kills. Like, what is it that's drawing your attention to him?
So we were kind of talking about it as the last game was going on, and even the game before that. The problem with Furia, at least for it seems like Froz and I, is that they're very hesitant. The team has no issues in team fights. In fact, they carry themselves really well in team fights, and they're a very scrappy team, and they find success there. The problem is that they hesitate, and that hesitation often causes them to come in late on rotations or coming into a bad spot where other teams are fighting. They get sandwiched, and really that's kind of been the issue for them, is the fact that they're just not, it doesn't seem to be a clear-cut decision being made as far as the macro level with that team. I feel like if they fix that, they could be a much more dominant force, because Furia is actually really good in team fights. Froz, I don't know if you agree with me, but that's kind of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I totally agree. And right now, what we're seeing is that Metagame is the one who's dominant in the region. It's not Furia, but Furia should be way more up there. They should be way on the same level as Meta if they can just, as Scott is saying, take those decisions straight away. Don't hesitate on taking it. Just take it and learn from the mistakes. If it's not right, what did I take? What was wrong with the call? How do I fix that for the next time? Work on that instead, and you're gonna see Furia being on the top.
Well, a team that I know a lot of people are expecting to be on the top right now is going to be competing, or was competing against Shoot to Kill and Leaderboard, but now starting to get a pretty decent lead on this. FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan has been performing quite well. The last 2 games, though, they found themselves with a abundance of enemies that feel like they just keep popping up next to them. Froz, that last round, we saw that FaZe was having to contend with multiple teams. I believe it was Gex and VP that both decided to take a very early fight against them.
Yeah, so what we saw was that FaZe Clan was basically taking a spot just west of 4 a.m. And VP, they were trying to overlook this. They had the whole information about the FaZe Clan going there. They were both on the north side of the road and on the west side of the road. So they had full control over the whole situation. They knew that you don't want to go too early into this bowl. So once FaZe Clan actually got into the bowl, they started just raining down all those utilities, getting knock after knock, and just wiping them out. And after that, basically, VP didn't want to go too early to get gatekept by other teams, and same thing happening to them as they did to FaZe Clan. But they did go into the bowl, and GX came behind, and they did the same thing as VP just did to FaZe Clan. Basically, just naded them down, made sure they couldn't get anywhere. So GX actually did great there, taking them out there.
Signs of life from a team I know that has a pretty strong fan base. We've been seeing GX across international event upon international event, and always trying to just get a little bit better to try to take down the teams and the other competition around them. Two other very popular teams, Godspeed, when we're looking at things. We've got Kia and Divine still holding into decent positions regarding, I believe it's going to be third and fourth between them at the time. Not the most flashy of days for them, but still fairly consistent.
Kia actually has made some really significant moves today as far as their gameplay. I think they've looked much better today than they've looked in a little bit, but it's still kind of the same story. And I tried to kind of rack paper thins, brain about Damwon Kia. Obviously, he's a huge fan of that team, and even he can't explain, what's been going on with them. It just seems like a lot of the calls are just kind of not working out. But today, overall, I think Kia has been playing much better. As far as LG Divine, they've also been looking better. It seems like they've been taking really good positions here towards the end games, at least of the last two games, especially on Miramar. But they just haven't really been able to fight out of those positions. They'll come in with a really good entry knock and then finish up a team, and then they themselves kind of are the victim to the same thing. So I think maybe LG Divine just still hasn't found it yet this event.
So we're getting ready for our last two rounds. Froz, what teams do you have your eyes on? Where do you think that we're going to be looking at specifically now that we're switching back over to a more familiar map for these guys?
Looking at it, I feel like FaZe is going to come back a little bit stronger here. Coming into Erangel, we know that they're really good there. Same thing with 4AM. But also, I want to keep an extra eye on Furious and LG Divine. Just as Godspeed is saying, both of these teams are doing pretty decent right now. They're not really up there yet, but if they keep on playing like they're doing right now, we're going to see them way higher, doing way better here on Erangel. And it's going to be a pleasure to watch them if that happens.
The underdog fan in me is really hoping for that to happen. Godspeed, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, so far these games have been really great, and we've, again, seen some teams that have struggled in the past kind of rise up. So I'm really hoping this is the turnaround point for them because they're running out of time.
Couldn't have said it better myself. 2 games left for these teams. Cam, I gotta say, toss it over to you. Clover, take over the action. Lead us through these last 2 rounds.
To lead. Thank you so much, Matrim, Froz, and Godspeed. Now, Cammy, you kind of heard them talk about the teams that they're watching, teams they're looking at in terms of how we think they're going to place going into next week. Is there anybody that you've got your eyes on thus far on their performance this weekend?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know. I want to see 4AM answer back from that previous win that they just got, because with that win, they put themselves up in 7th place, but only 2 games left. They need to keep that foot on the throttle if they want to put themselves in an even stronger position. But actually, all 3 top 3 teams from the previous games are now in 7th, 8th, and 9th, holding that mid-ground slot. So all 3 of those teams really needed those points, and I want to see if they can push it further. Sylvia!
Oh, no, just let him have it. Let him take that car. A micro Uzi early game, we've seen good things happen. Then, another battle for a car, but Lou is just going to be a bit quicker to that than Vard from TSM. Fall out on that. Now, it's great to see 4AM landing out here in the center. They got the apartments, they've got school, they've got J compounds. DA, they're in another lobby. They're out doing their own thing. So depending on how 4AM plays this week, going into next week, I want to see them confidently have this position and hopefully not lose to DA repeatedly over and over and over again for this spot.
Hey, okay, to be fair, they actually consistently beat DA in the hot drop. It's just,
true.
What did they lose to beat DA? That was more the extended question from that consistent engagement here. But this first circle is towards the northeast, and it's 4AM, good position, DGW, solid position, but really it's LG, Divine, K7, and FaZe that have the best spots in this circle right now. There's that big old river, big old lake, Yaznaya, virtually dead center here, which means that there's a lot of teams who aren't in the circle right now, considering that's so much dead area as far as loot is concerned. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams out closer towards the southwest, have to make their own rotation in.
And Detonation Gaming, one of the closer neighbors to 4AM alongside with TSM. And Detonation Gaming getting to play out of Rozhok. This is a good spot for circles like this. Right now, they're kind of out near the bottom half, but they can take that bridge, rotate, cross the water, play from this, depending on where phase 2 pops, because this circle could go a number of ways. When we have the water going through the center, it kind of lets players know this could be a north circle, this could be a Stalber circle, or this could be a circle south of Yasnaya Field. So teams don't need to quite make a move just yet until we see where the circle could potentially pop out. That said, though, E36, we saw that landing kind of fight for Carlos like Amanat. Sylphia did manage to find themselves other vehicles far and far away from AAA as they're going to rotate, or well, I say far away from AAA. It looks like Pure Boy has found Spit.
Ooh.
There you go, get fancy with it.
Found Pure Boy. Yeah, he actually almost tipped that vehicle, I think. Swit with a very nice opportunity, tried to get the spray down. Unfortunately, the Scar iron sight is the worst iron sight in the game, excluding like the M4 that doesn't even have an iron sight. But Pure Boy wants to go back and wants to show that he can do it even better. So the good retreat from Swit, recognized what was going on, said, I don't want any part of this chase. I don't want any part of this game. This isn't even in the circle. What are we fighting over? E36, are they chasing down?
I mean, why not, right? I'm wondering if they're coming off the adrenaline of the previous match. They're not known for being an aggressive kill-forward team. This is a team that plays it safe, looks for comfortable opportunities, and then they will frag out from within that safety. So being phase one, being, as you said, that they are not inside the zone, I think the focus, while having a little bit of fun with AAA, is to make sure that they're setting themselves up there for phase two. Meanwhile, kind of taking an overview at VP, another team that had some interesting moments of brilliance last match. They're kind of struggling on some games, and then we're seeing games where they're looking really, really good. But actually hold that thought real quick, because it looks like E36 has found themselves into trouble yet again.
Or who's the one that found trouble? Raster taking a lot of damage, and Sato with a great position to finish that kill. Necro is able to trade that out, so this is not an easy fight, a clean fight from either side. Rastu's been confirmed, Sylphia has not, so Furia, they need to make the decision. Do we want to try and confirm this? And that is an easy confirm to take onto Sylphia, but do they want to stay in this engagement? They do have the line of the circle in their favor. Could continue to press this and push E36 away, but where can E36 even rotate into? Because right behind them is GEX backfilling.
The big problem with Furia is this is phase one, and this is a prime location for many teams to rotate. So by tunnel visioning onto this fight with E36, they really open themselves up to being third-partied by other teams that are looking for a way into the zone, but working as well they can to clean it up. That noise is going to send a couple other teams looking for alternative wrapping patterns. There you go, kill demo. Furia, they're just going to send it back away. So E36 will lose one, pick up one. And now, as we can see, the zone continuing to close back out. Meanwhile, Gex AAA took a bit of a wider western wrap away from this. So Furia, E36 have breathing room moving forward.
I think Furia are actually backing off from this, not only because this edge in phase one is not the most valuable thing to fight over. They stuck around to try and get an opportunity, see if they couldn't pick up a kill or two more on top of that first one they got on Sylphia, but also the potential pressure from Gex and AAA, as well as TSG, who we didn't see on the screen, but they're way over towards Zarky here. I don't know if Furia saw them necessarily, but they just wanted none of that action. Should have known that there were at least a good number of teams on the western side that would be following up behind them, and so they're trying to make it way closer towards the center. Kia also rotating in, but they're coming in just below STK's position, right below the Yasnaya Fields, and ooh, that's a couple of shots coming their way, going to be deterring their approach potentially.
Shoot to Kill's not worried too far about overextending this fight onto Kia. As you said, they really just want to protect their compound and their position. But Luke 12 looks like he might have been coming to help out. I think he's actually been told, nah, back off, we've got this. They're pulling back away, so continue holding that position. Shoot to Kill kind of waiting to see where this next zone goes, and that really gives them good area to play from. But these are the teams now that are having the longest reps and rotations coming out from the far west, from Primorsk. Buriram and VP have been kind of neighbors out through this rotation, but Buriram managing to get just out above VP, and it's going to be first out into the zone. And we wait to see where the circle is going to go, where teams are currently inside the zone. And we can see about an even spread right now from teams that are choosing to play south of the lake and the river, south of Yasnaya, and teams that have chosen for the north, as it's a bit of a gamble, Cammy, isn't it?
I'm just looking at that northern cluster around Severny, Gex, AAA, TSG, all rotating from the Georgia Pool-ish area. and they're coming in toward the exact same position, the exact same trajectory. Could get into a fight there. E36 also potentially joining in. That's an M249 in the hands of Ambernaut, so I'm excited to see if they can't
Go
let
for
that
it.
gun really sing, really rip.
Ooh, coming up the backside of Gex, maybe we'll see a fun drive-by out of this, but Jayers has something to say about Volleybear getting too close, and once again, a really unfortunate early loss of TSG, taking out Volleybear, who's, I believe, been one of their kill leaders for the squad thus far in the series, especially through this week. TSG had an amazing day one on the weekly survival. They had a game of 16, second place, so 16 kills, second place. Then they had another game, second place, 17 kills. And then after that, they just kind of petered out. They lost all of that steam and momentum, and they weren't ever really able to recover. Now that we're watching them perform in this weekend, same thing. Not quite what you want to see. And Batu, let's go, baby. Did he clear that fully?
I think he did. And that alone, does that level of extreme sport energy, smashing energy drinks, eating terrible MSG-laced potato chips. Indigo is scared out of his mind. He is out. He is gone. He's going to let these crazy teenagers have their play zone.
Extreme sports there, as you said. Drink some energy drinks, crush some potato chips. Absolute legends. Now, this is a good position for VP to take on early. It's going to give him a good line of sight from everything going on. You can see a lot of teams instead opting to play the far north from this. As TSG still working now to recover from Volleybear. C actually finds themselves a bit of an angle, but Yan Lee with the drive-by is going to get one. Pulls back around to try to secure that flush on him, and Ping him is going to apply just a bit of pressure, say, hey man, leave it, but all is lost there for Sia as Yan Li on a second drive-by is going to get the cleanup.
Down for TSG. They have not been able to catch a break. It's just been all the other teams in the Severity area bullying this one team. Listen, can't you fight amongst yourselves? Give TSG just a little bit of breathing room. This circle isn't going to help those matters as it does shift away. It goes towards the western bank of Stalber. Very open, and not only in terms of terrain, but as far as what teams are already there. FaZe with a decent position. E36 having looped all the way around Severity in a strong position around Stalber as well. But we're seeing teams rotate from west, teams rotate in from the south and the southeast, so it's going to be a lot more Mad Max action coming our way.
And a big potential for a Stalber finish, but inside the town, we actually had a couple teams choosing to take this rotation. LG driving right through STK as Luke 12 gets a flush there. JN, we can see his body just a bit. The rest of LG Divine driving out wide. Rest of shoot to kill, I think they're staying for now. It actually looks like Turtle's still up in the apartments. Meanwhile, VP getting a bit close to Brewery Ram. ED and Canoxy jumping out of their vehicles, seeing if they could pick something off of this rapid rotation. Meanwhile, it's all right, Crazy. We all run over our teammates sometimes.
Xiaolu, he's always the first one knocked for 4 AM, I feel like. He definitely was that opening game. I think 4 AM themselves really want to keep that trope alive. VP rotating past around, trying to find a couple opportunities, trying to find the angles of attack, but not really anything landing at all. So VP able to get away from this scot-free, but it is pushing them out away from the circle. Gonna have to find a new point of access to get into this phase 2. And with all these rotational struggles, you'd think that this was later on in the game, but no, this is only phase 2.
You know, we don't see the top of Stalber be this vital in a circles typically. We'll see it kind of lean down towards the warehouses or out in Yasnaya or even the warehouses out by Severny, but very rarely do we have such a Stalber-centric circle. And so rightfully so, many different kings trying to take the castle at the top as they want to play King of the Hill. FaZe first out in this area. They landed out in the Kamishki Stalber, but E36 trying to vie for this. FaZe is going to say, you know what, go ahead, have it. We don't think that Stalber itself is going to be that important. We just want to play the edge, watch the rest of the teams that kind of come out. We know that you're in Stalber. We can keep a big eye on you to see 8C kind of out investigating. Fuzzface has actually spotted K7, but not taking the shots just yet. They're just gathering information before they're ready for that attack. They don't want E36 to walk up onto the backside of this just yet.
It's also about being able to secure those kills, because those points could easily get stolen, and with the amount of little divots that K7 could easily drop down in, FaZe want to put themselves in a position to confirm those kills the second those bodies hit the floor, the second when they hit that crouch position. Stuff though, Murahu standing virtually still. Was he spotted?
Oh. There you go. Oh, one headshot, but not enough to take down Bowie, who you know his helmet is hurting. Gustav has been absolutely slaying for FaZe Clan. Will get a hit there onto K7, but FaZe not overextending into this fight just yet. As you said, they want to make sure that they have those opportunities to secure any knocks that they get, especially as we wait for that circle to close here in the next 10 seconds. We'll get an idea of where it's going to be and whether or not, you don't want to start a fight if you have to move depending on the circle. But that is a very ambitious nade. A second one to follow, but the cars are providing just enough cover to keep sick K7, and that is a great circle for both of these teams. So we might see FaZe just pull up the aggression a little bit. But as I say that, 8C is actually going to fall to Xenon here. Gustav with the nade back out, hoping one more time to get the egg in the hole. No, I think 8C might be fine out of this one, but Xenon's got another nade still out here. Booyahoo dies to a vehicle explosion, though. Xenon is going to try and pull away. Oh.
This approach by FaZe is really not working out how they wanted to, and their pressure over towards K7 means that they're giving room for E36 to approach from their backside, but they're not the only team that's in a little bit of trouble with this shift. 4 teams still having to rotate in, still push in, but Gustav, damage to the face, damage to the head, and the second shot is all that it takes. It is just Uba remaining full health. Lineup can't get the second knock.
Amanat does get a hit onto Uba. That's going to push him back. We talked about FaZe being a bit cautious with the site. They knew Interforce was inside Stalber, but they took a chance on that K7 fight anyway. We're punished just a little bit there by E36 in the end. Iroh, meanwhile, punishing VP as he's going to get a knock and flush onto Hyrus, and their VP down to just Spyro still up. At a line of sight onto Miraku just as the door closed, but he's going to use this as an opportunity to get some boosters back in, that health up high. And we can see so many different players all very close. The minimap is a literal rainbow right now of teams.
And you can't really blame them with the lack of solid and recognizable single positions. Everyone basically has to converge with each other like it's a party mixer. You're forced to talk to your coworkers that you never like, the one that smells bad, the one that plays their radio too loud. Gustav is still bleeding out, and as far as FaZe is concerned, but I don't think Uba is going to have the time, even if he is able to wipe out the entirety of E36, even if DXG do come in as a distraction. I think Gustav is going to be all but done for.
Now they also have to deal with Long K starting to weasel his way into the compound, see what he can spot of this fight that's going in the kill feed. We can see even on the minimap, Damo and Kia isn't too far out to the north from this as well, but Uba is just going to play this as carefully and cautiously as possible, waiting for that first peek. If he can get the opening knock onto E36, he could stand a chance here. If there was ever a player to be up from FaZe this late in the game, Uba would be the one who might be able to, as long as DXG really doesn't try to ruin this for him.
The name of the game for Uba right now, especially with his position, how close he is to the number of teams that he knows that he's next to, is pick up a few kills. The probability of him surviving to the late game is so astronomically low. Yes, it's Uba. Yes, he's one of the few players that I think might actually have a chance doing it. But oh no, Xiao Lu driving directly into Buriram. Wardra able to get that confirmation. That's another point for them. Before I am trying to bite back, trying to answer back.
Shots out from Crazy as we see Buriram's going to move back on, but so has the zone. So 4AM can't stay too long to fight on this. As this phase 4, they need to be a bit mindful of that damage that will come as the Blues will start to collapse onto them. They do have a couple different options of where they could rotate if they want to avoid conflict with Buriram, but with DXG up to the north, this might be the most opportune fight that they can take. But it looks like they're going to go ahead and choose to rotate off. Meanwhile, CC from Gex jumping to avoid a bit of damage coming out from Furia as Necro with the SLR. Looking to get a knock, but instead that damage is traded. Leo's going to get a hit onto him. Kill demo. Let's see if he can get that spot. Looks for the flush there. Picks it up onto CC. So that's another one down there for Gex. Just still 2 up. You see Yan Li and Leo kind of stuck behind this ditch. They're not in the zone. They have the opportunity to pull back if they want. And 4AM once again now it's just brute force trying to send it into the zone. It'd be a bit of a trade there from DXG if Forever goes down.
Spray there from IQ 500, and now 4AM, they're really trying to stop this bleeding. So far, this game does not look like they want to follow up their previous win. Long King gets another one onto Godfeed. It's just one remaining, but now Turtle is joining a party of his own, joining the entirety of SDK. Purdy goes down. It's onto Alo right now, at least in the immediate position, because all other SDK members are further towards the south. Luke and Pentalol trying to group up, trying to give some assistance, but will they get there in time? Turtle is prepping a grenade, and I think he knows exactly where it needs to send it.
LG, Divine, and SDK had been circling the previous fight like sharks, but right as they went ahead and fell out, you could see ended up pushing onto each other. There's another nade coming back out for both Luke. 12 Turtles got one in hand as well, but Luke's just goes a little bit too far, rolling down the side. We could see still more throwables coming back out. Careful not to pop over the rock, overexpose themselves as well. June, meanwhile, looking for a better angle, and he's got the barrel in hand. If he could spot out Luke, might be a good fight. We can see Luke actually pulling back out the throwables once more with June whiffing those shots, unfortunately, and that gives information to Luke to exactly where LG Divine has wrapped to.
Alo spots it, tries to flick onto their position, but doesn't deal enough damage, takes a lot in return, and now trying to fight off against multiple angles. It's all on Luke trying to give as much assistance as he can. Alo is still alive. He is surrounded on 3 sides, uses the high ground advantage to take down Turtle, making it only 2, but Lev is answering back.
How is he still alive? Alo managing, having finally fallen out here, but now it is just down to Luke. 12. LG Divine will be eliminated, but at a big cost, as we see Luke try to attempt a res there onto Alo. Meanwhile, Damwon Kia, fight of their own for the spot with K7 that we've been seeing a lot of action going on for. The circle is going to shift once more. And now this time, Detonation Gaming White has the center. And we can see all teams needing to move. There's so much chaos going on at the north right now.
Everyone's going to have to push from the high ground towards the low ground. E36 and Detonation Gaming, as well as the wounded STK, they have a little bit of breathing room, breathing space, but that's not going to last too long because of the high ground lines of sight that these teams on the north, once they deal with each other, could potentially find onto those 3 teams already inside the circle. Kale trying to find these, will use these high ground lines of sight to use of his own against AAA and K7, clearing out their immediate area, but Indigo needs to get revived as well.
And Damwon Kia is coming in with numbers, though. Indigo has been knocked. They're still actively trying to make sure that they've got to keep as many up as they can. You can see the res is still potential there for Indigo. I think Xiao Yang might be working on that right now. And Peng M, who was looking in that area, I think has heard Jayers. He's running back in. Nate is out. Looks like he's trying to get it, but just underhand shorts it. I think he thought Jayers might have been approaching him a little bit closer than he was. And on the backside of this as well, Furia still taking shots, as well as Triumphant Song Gaming. We've got 5 teams out to the north, still not in the zone, as Phase 5 is beginning to close. Attack all around, eliminated as Jayers is spotted out by Indigo, so the res did come out. Damwon Kia 4 up, and TSG starting to break away, but with nowhere really to go except just try and heal in the blue.
Yeah, that's not very successful strategy at this stage in the game. The blue deals too much damage. Birmingham trying to force themselves into the circle. I expected them to actually go against E36's immediate position, but instead they really want these rocks that STK are hiding in. Luke was able to get up Alo, but Penta was way too far away to get revived. So now it is going to be a 2-on-4 defense for STK. That is, if Birmingham want to continue this fight, I think those throwables didn't find the knocks that they were looking for, and so instead they're going to play it safe. They're not going to overextend, not going to put themselves in a rough position to get shot at from other angles towards the north, like E36. He's going to wait for the circle to move on its own speed, but Furia, they have a different plan in mind.
Well, Spyro tried to make magic happen. He managed to get 1 knock, gets traded back out, and we can see the third party coming in from TSN as they're going to go ahead and clean that up. Furia out, eliminated. TSM right now sitting on 5 kills. They've got themselves a decent wizard tower inside the zone, but still out on the edge. So as the circle shifts, they might have to move yet again. Savior, also the last player still up for K7, spots out Kale from Damwon Kia, but just can't connect on all those shots. After realization of this, tried to pull back away, but responded in kind.
TSM, though, they're following up on this action they've heard and saw in the kill feed. But what they might not know is that it is going to be a 4 versus 4 engagement if they want to push even further. But the circle shifts just towards the west. Might make them change their mind, but underspotted and immediately dispatched by Wookie. And so the rest of Kia trying to group up with Indigo to give him some support, but back here on the southeast, they're going to continue on that initial push onto SDK. Alo has been knocked.
Buriram had been watching the edge so long, waiting to see if STK was going to wrap around them south. Instead, took the wrap north. You can see Canoxa getting the flush onto Alo. Just Luke 12 remains hiding out behind a rock, waiting for that opening angle. Didn't quite spot Canoxa here. Sees Edie. That didn't connect quite enough. I think he thought he got the knock there. He did it. Canoxa actually going to get the flush. Luke 12 falls. And there you have it. You see Buriram still up. Now, Damwon Kia rotating back down south from this fight, and E36 surprisingly has been involved in so many fights right now, and they're not going to get any chance of a breather right now as Damwon is collapsing on their position.
They don't have a lot of control in this circle, just barely out on the edge, and Pure Boy, I mean, he could use that sneaky little goblin position under the rock to try and get a frag, maybe two onto Kia, but really it's going to be down to Amanat to deal most of the damage. Pure Boy gets the first with Songchang, but immediately traded by Kale. What can Amanat do to follow up? He confirms the kill at the start to get that kill in their pocket, to get that point. That is still two members of Kia now onto his position, chasing him down, and that's going to be it for E36. Top 4 confirmed.
Kia trying to pull back away from this position, but as we can see, both Buriram and TSM are collapsing on this position. All teams wanting to take out this high ground in the zone. TSM, though, being very careful about their approach here, and Canoxa spots out Indigo. That's one back down. Buriram now sitting on up at 5 kills, potential 2v6 here in just a moment, and Kale, with nowhere else to really go, is just going to lie low, wait for them to come to him. In fact, TSM now taking the push as far, reaches right over the edge here. Kale picks up one, gets a knock, waits for the next, but the rest of TSM is a little bit further. We see some pre-fire out on the rocks. He thought that TSM's backup might have been closer than they were, but Iroh cleans that back up, and now here come the nades from Buriram. They saw the kill feed, they heard the bullets, and they're going to see what they can get out of this.
In the meantime, Detonation Gaming, they've been sitting pretty. They haven't really had any action coming their way. In fact, they have 0 kills right now, and they're using this opportunity to get position in the center of the circle. Problem is, they're on the low ground, so whoever survives this engagement between TSM and Buriram could have a really good advantage in that engagement. That is, if they survive with a healthy number of members still alive. It's going to need to be a clean fight for either TSM or Buriram if they really want a good chance against DGW, that is. DGW, don't overextend. That was a cheeky little shot towards Malofo.
And the circle is going to favor DGW, but Iroh's got full line of sight right now on them. As we can see, the throwables coming out doing 9 damage, not terribly much, but it is going to push DGW back down into the low ground, while the fights between TSM and Buriram continue at a slow and careful pace. They don't need to worry too hard about DGW. Those C's still looking for an angle that he can spot on. As you can see, the climb yet again from Detonation. See what involvement they can get here, looking for some types of kills before we get out to the late game. Therefore, Naradra with the nade. This could be huge if it lands here onto TSM, and a trade back on Naradra somehow surviving that.
How is he still alive? The angle of the camera that we just saw, that grenade was behind his head. It wasn't right in his face like it might have looked like. But that is still such a dangerous position. Miraku finds Naradra. Second one's the charm. That's going to be a follow-up to confirm. That one's a little bit too far. This still puts pressure on Buriram, but Canoxa's trying to answer back.
Canoxa getting Miraku down very low. The Molotov's going to do the rest there, as you see, trying to clean up that kill, pick up the point here. Buriram right now sitting on 6, though, with Naradra still knocked. They need to take care of the rest of TSM, the potential to get the res. TSM down to just 1 now, and Buriram collapsing out on this position. They will spot him out. Canoxa now on 5 kills, and DGW finally made it up the hill as they look to do what damage they can onto Buriram, who unfortunately is down to just 1 player still standing. Canoxa doesn't have any time to get that res, and that nade at the end is going to clean house the one and only kill for Detonation Gaming. Whites is going to award them that chicken dinner.
A 1-kill win. I don't remember the last time we've seen that. And Detonation Gaming, they're laughing at it as well. It is so rare, the opportunity to take a win without having to do any of the work. And DGW, you saw at the very end there, once the fight between Buriram and TSM finished up, they were immediately on the push. They saw how chaotic it was in the kill feed. They knew that they had a man advantage. Maybe not, they maybe didn't know how much of a man advantage that was, but this is what I meant when I said that the fight between TSM and Buriram needed to be clean by the winning team, or else they would get mopped up.
They didn't get the wins, but Buriram and TSM also had very high kill games that match. Good growth from those teams that we want to see. Those points are going to do good to help them in the leaderboard. But back onto Detonation real quick, because what a show. I mean, you get yourself a compound curse, and then there's a compound curse to get that chicken dinner with only that last kill. We're going to throw that back to the desk and see what they think of that match.
This is where I enjoy being the host role instead of the analyst role, because now you two get to break down the glory of DGW's 1-kill win there. Godspeed, I can see it on your face. You want to break down all the phenomenal movements around No Lean that got them that victory, yes?
Look, there's playing for the win, and then there's Detonation Gaming playing for the win. I mean, look... It's
hey, you take what you're given, right? And if you're given a circle like that, you just take it and enjoy it.
But all kind of jokes aside, there is a really big issue with the way they played that, though, to be completely honest. Like, yeah, you could argue they got the win, and especially in a format where, you know, win is everything, but this isn't it. This is super settings, right? And so Detonation Gaming had plenty of opportunities to crest over, and
they won the round and got the 4th most amount of points.
Right,
that's crazy.
Because
just
they only had, I mean,
sorry.
That's because Buriram was doing work. I mean, they were really clearing out the circle, as was TSM. We saw some kills coming out for Furia as well, but then they got wiped really fast. But back to Detonation Gaming, they had a lot of missed opportunities, to be completely honest, where they could have pushed out, and they could have gotten themselves a lot more kills and fed themselves a lot more points. But, you know, they didn't, and for that, they only got 11 points. But hey, as you said, you got to take what's given to you. A win's a win.
On the other side of that, back over around Circle 5 towards the north, there was a lot of teams stacked up over next to each other. Furia, TSG, VP, AAA, Kia, K7, all fighting it out in that corridor up there, Froz. And it just turned into a bloodbath that a lot of the teams that were already in position, such as TSM, tried to capitalize off of.
Yeah, we saw TSM actually playing from the sniper tower there, and they were doubling down on it. They had all 4 in there, and I was quite surprised how no one was holding them out. Sure, towards the end there was not that many teams left, but them just being able to walk out without anyone even shooting or doing anything to them, that's just insane. That's crazy to see. But you have a team like Damwon Kia, we saw that they were on the northeast side as well. They were a little bit more busy taking the fights with, I think it was E6 by the time when TSM was trying to get out from that sniper tower. But DGW, they got themselves that win. They got 1 kill. They got themselves a 3rd place in a previous game. They got 1 kill in that one as well. So they are racking up the points, and that's what matters right now. And a win is a win. It doesn't matter if it's a 1 kill or 0 kills even. That is still 10 points on the board, and that is very needed right now, especially with how close, how even it is on this leaderboard right now, except for SDK, that is like miles ahead of everyone else, of course.
It's a good time for SDK, even though they didn't walk away with the last round victory. Godspeed. You kept talking about the positioning where we saw SDK and Buriram fighting, and that ended up being a kind of key essential point inside that last round where a lot of teams were vying for that position. What are the strengths of it, and why did we see it so hotly contested?
Well, looking at that position, if you saw where DGW was at the end of that game, how they were kind of slipping up, falling off that cliff, the reason why everyone was kind of fighting for where SDK and Buriram had kind of settled and where Buriram eventually died right at the end of the game was just the high ground. And that's one of those situations where the high ground in that specific hill is really important, because you have so many sight lines, not only below you, but you're also covered by like a little terrace from the rocks above. So it was just a good position to fight. It's a good position to hold as well, not just to kind of vacate and then move on. But ultimately the circle didn't end there, and yeah, DGW just found the victory because of where the circle had kind of shifted on them, and they took advantage, at least at the end, to get their 1 kill.
I'm still just astounded by how many teams we saw stacking up so many kills based off of positioning, and to see a round-winning team be so low. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that. Have we seen a fourth place position come out like that before? Usually, like, sometimes you'll see somebody get like second or third based off of it, but at this stage, it just shows how violent
I don't think,
like specifically to the north and east were, just because these guys were just fragging out.
I don't think we've seen it this event. Froz, do you remember anyone else getting first and being fourth? I don't think that's happened in PGI at least yet.
No, not here. But the thing is that how this circle was playing out, you had DGW holding out in no lean, and the thing is, no team is gonna get close to no lean at all. So
yeah,
because they were playing there, they could have, of course, gone out from the compound. They could have gone to the cliffside on the east of them and tried to get a little bit more kills. That's what most of the teams would have done, because they know that no one else is in no lean. They know the backs are clean. But DGW, they were playing a little bit more safe. They were trying to have a 2-2 split and just going for the last kill instead. And it's totally fine, because as I said, they got themselves that one kill, that win, and that's what matters. But what you're seeing from the other teams is they're being a little bit more aggressive. They're going for the kills. Now, DGW, they might be playing a little bit more of the passive style, trying to set themselves up, not just here for the bottom 16, but also for the upcoming weekly survival.
Exactly.
And trying to try out some new stuff and working on that already, because this is a good practice for that.
I mean, one kill, based off the position, they didn't have the best sight lines to work around, and they got the kill that mattered in the end, to walk away with a huge amount of points for that one, to really help escalate them up that leaderboard. But there is one round left to figure out how we're going to set up everything and how placements are going to work through the survival series in the following week. Clover, Cam, lead us through this last round.
Thank you so much, Matcham, Frost, and Godspeed. Lead we shall once again. As you said, this is the last match to determine seeding going into the penultimate week next week, week number 5. And that means big dollars for some teams. And you know what, Cam? A thing that's standing out to me right now is who's currently on the bottom of this leaderboard. And even with that great performance last game, TSM hasn't really climbed much this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they're currently in 10th place. It's definitely better than they were previously, but if they stay here, that's only going to be giving them, what, 5 games, 6 games? We've seen teams take up to 12, 13, 15 games, 14 games, well, yeah, 15 games, actually, to get that win to put themselves in the weekly final, confirmed themselves out of the bottom 16. And we're going to reiterate for one final time that you could argue being in the weekly final is more important than where you place in the weekly final. Like, actually getting there in the first place is more important than where you place, because of the position it puts you in for the weekly survival to get into week 6 weekly final, and that's where all the real money. Oh my god.
Ooh.
Okay. Yep. All right. What?
Oh,
it has to. Why not? Why don't we go down? I don't even want to call this a military-based circle. I think the center is on a piece of sand next to the water. This is less land than water.
And this is a great circle for VP and Shoot to Kill, who did land on the island. In fact, VP, we've really seen them play the western edge of this zone quite well. A lot of the military circles thus far have really been favoring the East Coast, so it's exciting to see another one of these pop out. But that said, K7 out in Primorsk, they're in a good opportunity to catch a couple teams, try to get those rotations. DXG, they're watching the Western Bridge. FaZe out here in Milta with TSG on the Eastern Bridge. Both these teams love this drop, and you can see right there, FuzzFace just taking some iron sight shots there at Sia, but nothing's out quite going to land. It is going to push TSG off this spot, and I mean, you got to be thinking to yourself, you want to loot quickly and you want to get over there fast so that you can have a prime pick on where you're going to play.
It's like 3 prime positions. Honestly, I don't know how any of these teams are going to comfortably approach this circle. In fact, VP and DXG are really the only teams that I think are going to be super comfortable. SDK as well, because they dropped a Novo and they can rotate towards the southern edge of Sosnovka Island. But for everyone else, even FaZe and TSG, AAA that aren't away from aren't too far from the water, it's not going to be comfortable even for them, and I don't even imagine what it's going to be like for Divine all the way up in Zarki.
I mean, if anything, my only concern about, you know, we said that the places that there aren't to play, VP is kind of split between the playable ones right now, and with so many teams outside of the zone working their way in, they do need to be a little bit mindful of their split, as the potential for someone to crash a compound they are playing from is dramatically high. Sure, a couple of teams can choose to stay on the mainland here through phase 1, maybe even phase 2 if the circle continues holding on to this area, but most teams are going to try to look for that early rapid rotation. As we see, DXG is already firmly across, but they've been watching this K7 rotation come back out. Fergus getting the high ground, seeing if he can get some shots into K7. None are connecting just yet, switching back out to his long range. The 3x, though, the bullet's going just a bit too far, and look at that M249. You love to see it.
Croning down 2, but yeah, K7, I think they spotted out this beachfront hold by Division X just in time for them to make a sharp 90-degree turn and get themselves at a safer distance away from the coast. Xenon is the only one who's taken really any damage at all, and it's nothing that a quick bandage or two couldn't fix. Or energy drink, rather, because it's past 75% HP, but you see my point. It's a scratch.
Well, AAA attack all around up already on the beach here for Military Island. They're at the biggest threat right now of being relegated yet again as they sit in 16th place with 20 points. If they can make something of that match, that might be the saving grace that they need. They're not too far out from the bottom. Yeah, a good kill game, rack up a couple kills, get a high placement. That might be all they need. When you look at DXG, who's only 7 points ahead of them out in 11th place. So all the teams at the bottom right now have to be sweating because they're going to have to put in that work to make sure that, as you said, they don't miss out on week 5, as that takes away their opportunity to make it into the final week where the biggest bucks are.
So TSG won the game of chicken with FaZe for them to go across the bridge. FaZe is still here in Milta, continuing their loop, but also potentially able to pick up a kill or two of all these teams that are going towards the east bridge. God me out as well, though. Put themselves. This is a cheeky position. I really don't think Gex are going to figure this one out. And I think the timing did not work out well for him at all. But Canaxi, he's able to follow up with a good knock, potentially more coming his way.
Oh, there you go. Canaxi picks up one, tries to get a second there as... there you go. The drive-by City. Yan Lee on the seat swap is going to pick him out here. And Godmeow breaking away from his shack to try to get a better angle onto Gex. See if he can get a knock here. Edie just full sends it out with the UAS. Get a bit close to see his seat swap come back out again. But Gex waiting for it to actually knock him out. And now Noadra following suit here is going to pick up a knock there onto Yan Lee. Everybody is here to seat swap.
Gex so far have been winning in the actual seat swap war, but Canaxi able to knock 2 at the very beginning puts Buriram in a very solid position to win this engagement. However, they have lost so much because all the knocks have been confirmed against them that they will be surviving no more than 2 at this point. Gex, if they win, they could get everyone picked up. Godmeow has been slowly running across this field, hasn't been peaked. Noadra here is trying to make a lot of noise to keep attention on him, so Godmeow can get in a strong flanking position.
Godmeow pulling out the nades as Noadra's got the AR. We see the damage coming right back into the smoke. That looks to be good, but they walked away just to avoid that damage. Miaoye took a little bit here, turning attention back to focus onto Noadra as he's going to go ahead and flush out Yan Li, who's feeding information to the rest of their teammates, peeking back out around the hard cover here. Noadra caught on the reloads, actually going to get hit by E36 as Sylphia here to third party this fight, spots them out. Gex is eliminated. There goes Godmeow. Buriram down to just 1 player.
I mean, Noadra got 3, so at least they were able to get that many points.
It's something.
And Buriram are in a really good position on the leaderboard. They're sitting in 4th place, so it actually doesn't surprise me to see them go for these early kills, get like a nice 3 and 4 kill buffer, and then just sit on that, because making their way into South Africa is going to be a terrible position. Gex, they're not as fortunate. They're sitting at 14th before this game. They could continue to slide even lower than that.
I mean, if K7 puts down 1 or 2 points, TSG puts down 3 or 4 points, Triple Dave puts down 5 points, Gex will be the one to sit out next week. So the rest of the teams at the bottom need to be mindful of that, put the work in, as we see Noadra still trying to avoid E36, who full sent it here onto him. That car's on fire and jumping out just in the nick of time before the explosion happens. Uses hay bale. A little bit of help here, but E36 got a bit too close to Furia, and they are responding in kind of this as well, as Raspu's going to go ahead and pull back out, find a better angle of cover onto E36 now as Zea's playing the compound. Meanwhile, FaZe and Damwon at it again here is under. Getting a few shots onto Gustav. Fuzzface has already been flushed out.
FaZe's struggle of getting across the bridge is not too much of a surprise considering how many teams we saw just recently rotate over that eastern bridge. Revive gonna be going through for Kia. The angle for the grenade throw not exactly found, and Kale's also rotating up to give support to his teammates. FaZe, on the other hand, might be looking for a position to retreat away from this, but they're all running out on foot. Yeah, Gustav's getting in his vehicle, gonna be driving away. So we're going to put our focus real quick onto Detonation Gaming, who are coming in the Eastern Bridge, the last team to rotate through. And fortunately for them, in the position of this first circle, no one is camping this bridge. They have so much room to work with, and you can tell with their movement that they don't exactly know that because there's no real way. But the entirety of the military base is wide open. Everyone is stacked on that western coast to the west of the road coming from the western bridge.
And these wide wraps in the edge of the blue, out far wide between Damwon, Kia, FaZe, Detonation Gaming, who've chosen to come in from the Eastern Bridge. They've got all the time and the space to work with. Buriram, meanwhile, Noadra, the last player up, is still kind of having to recover from all the fights, the pressure that was put back on from all the fights at hand. Now we're waiting to see where that where the circle pops. It is going to pop fully on the islands. We're going to lose most of that water, and that means that pretty much everybody isn't going to have to move. Only E36 and LG Divine are not in the zone, and that actually means that Furia could potentially bridge camp the two of them, depending on how they looked across.
Balance does come back to the force with this circle shift. This is now looking like a pretty normal land to water ratio here, which does mean that all that open area to the north of the military base, or the actual military base itself, is now a reasonably, prioritizable area to play with. So I wonder if any of these teams are going to be going to that position, or if it's more going to be Furia just not rotating in. Damwon, Kia, FaZe, K7, and Detonation Gaming come from the east side, if they're going to be taking up those positions. And looking at the map, that does seem to be the case, but Furia could find themselves in a really good spot just based off of the way that the cards have been dealt to them.
K7 driving right up onto FaZe Clan. Uba is going to get Booyahoo, but Lockslock once again working magic with that M249. He's going to get that knock onto Uba. As that drive-by proved successful out. Now Gustav, Aitzy are quite close out to this, pulling back in from the split. It's too late to get the reses out onto the rest of their teammates, but they can pick up some kills onto this fight. Meanwhile, we see TSG. Volley Bear had line of sight on here. It's going to actually steal those knocks away from all of that work in. So much needed points for TSG there. Damwon, Kia not making the same mistake, as they're going to go ahead and pull back, look for another angle into this.
Tempo's still here. They're actually camping this bridge, and they have a good line of sight on the Divine, but the damage hasn't really been delivered yet. In fact, Kill Demo is the first one to go down, and the rest of Furia trying to scramble on what they want to do to follow up onto this. I think that's the second player knocked for them. Yeah, and now they're getting tagged from the back as well from Jackanoff.
You'll be a little bit mindful here, as you said. The third party is starting to come back in, but Levi's one of a small walk, and J-End actually sending it up through the base of the hill on foot, seeing Fury was close enough, but he hears them driving off, pulling back around. Meanwhile, Detonation Gaming and Damwon briefly getting into a tizzy, as Damwon's going to pull back out. Detonation, very interesting into the previous game for them as they sat idly by. We're seeing a bit of the similarity here. Now TSM, again, working their way into zone.
CK, Alo gets punished, and here, lone solo, Noir job. Getting a lot of loot off of the bodies from Gex as well as his teammates, so there's that. And of course, we know how many vehicles are in this area. Blue at this point in the game doesn't do too much damage. So I think this is actually not the worst position for him to be in. He just needs to worry about any potential bridge camps, and especially if Phase 3 shifts heavily towards the southeast. But Lord, he is still just picking up all this loot. He's got a decent number of meds, decent number of throwables. If this were any later in the game, I'd think that he had a good shot to deal some real damage.
I mean, with as many teams just died it out in that drive-by, he definitely has a lot of loot to work with. But now LG Divine sending one back up onto Furious. That fight continues through. LG will lose one, but JN is just going to full send it as the crash comes back around. They know that Necro's in the compound, but I don't think they anticipated one in the shack as well. They need to be a bit careful for the presentation in this crash, but Necro gets taken down. Levi's picked that one, and Raspu now out from the window of the shack. And we see a throw will come out from Levi's, but mostly superficial there. That Molly, however, is going to land right onto Raspu, who's got nowhere else to go. A little too late to heal, and Furia is eliminated. Now in 14th. They'll be locked in 6 right now, but we continue moving on as we see FaZe continuing out towards the west, leaving their spot. ATC and Gustav trying to find a better location, but I think they're sensing the pressure from the rest of the teams that have been set up in and around the military compound. It's getting a little bit claustrophobic and crowded over here.
That shift towards the west, still, it's almost like the first circle had a plan of this is the area of the map that we're going to end on. This is the area that I want to focus on because it's been sticking to that plot point. It's been sticking to that storyline. All of these shifts. That's a bow for Naraja. He's been finding some really good loot. It only took sacrificing all 3 of his teammates to find these tools, to find these little toys to play with. But these are some real little gadgets to find opportunities with.
You gotta give credit to Nawadra. He's just a phenomenal player, and he's a creative player. Sometimes, though, we get a little bit too fancy. The drive-bys, not entirely necessary, and we saw what that cost both of those teams. But Nawadra is still using that as an opportunity to continue those scoring chances. As Buriram currently sitting in 4th place, but not too far behind FaZe. So, yes, he might only be 1 left live. Yes, we see him traversing through Adventure out from the blue, but Nawadra will continue to look for those chances to keep on stacking those numbers up. And speaking of looking for chances to stack up numbers, Damwon Kia right now sitting on 3 kills, a few shots at Detonation Gaming, who once again centering themselves up in a decent spot on the circle, but can Lightning strike twice?
It's hard to say. That's a very difficult position to defend as well. In the previous Erangel game, they had the luxury of everyone fighting over all these other stronger high ground positions. Here, I don't know if that's going to be the case. In fact, there are multiple angles onto their position already. But is that Naraja getting spotted out? The Chosen One has able to make his way across the water, but I think Nealt has a sense of some presence here. He's inside the circle. This is the first time he's been inside the play zone for, it feels like, years.
You leave our Nawadra alone. Nawadra's playing the smart. He's keeping his head down, waiting for teams to move in. We might see him really edge this through the rest of the game, but now TSG taking on a bit of pressure from TSN and VP, moving some vehicles around, trying to keep the tires and cars as healthy as possible, but Vard's still going to spot out Pang M as he gets that knock, and FaZe Clan once again looking to move as we see that circle is going to shift out to the west side of the compound, and really VP looking like they've got the best advantage of it right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and if they can hold on to both sides of this split, both sides of the road, they will have basically a monopoly of all the strong areas. The problem is, multiple teams, if too many of them send it out of their position, they could lose a couple of players. These shots on the face aren't finding the full connection they were wanting to. There it is, AC does go down, and that's a little bit of damage before he gets inside, so maybe he'll bleed out in time, but I think with the smoke, Gustav should be able to get inside. But this grenade, he wants this, he wants this point so badly.
Oh,
close.
Closing that door right in the nick of time. That's going to help out here. He's going to attempt to get the res off, but that second nade, the door is gone. One little bit of utility is all VP needs to end FaZe's day right now, who's fallen out to 3rd. So not a bad placement for him, but again, we're talking about how close it is for so many of the teams right now to try to take those first day positions going into the next week. Meanwhile, the Detonation is going to crash VP's compound. Their commitment to playing center continues forward through, but Spyro is going to get Machao down, but not before he gets taken to 7 HP himself. Batulins with the nade looking to find the flush onto this, and that nade misses, but Batu avoiding the damage.
That would have been incendiary. If it made its way inside, that would have been huge, but he's able to peek inside the door, and VP Detonation Gaming stormed that compound like it was theirs, like they had the lease, like they had the keys themselves, but VP slapped them away, seemingly with ease, without breaking a sweat. And so they are keeping control of this central position, but over here on the northeast side, The same could not be said about TSM or Divine, both of which are in the middle of a kerfuffle that have wounded both of them. I think it's just Jay and remaining for Divine, but E36, they smell trouble and they want to get involved.
E36 has been looking for great opportunities to third party, and they've really been bullying teams on the edge, but Vard is going to take out ends, and that is the end for LG Divine here, as we see if Throwables coming back out, but TSM is not going to stick around. They still got the opportunity to get the res onto Miraku here, but we can see just out. Oh, no, he's actually going to leave Miraku behind, and there's still plenty of time for him to get back away. Now, meanwhile, STK wrapping through the busiest part of town, as we can see bullets flying from attack all around VP PSG. Even FaZe is building, but Noadra at 1 HP, our golden boy somehow still alive, stopping to use a first aid kit. Can he make it?
Oh, the grenades, they're so close. So close, they're just tickling him and all down to 43, but he's dropping smokes to stop the push, but it's not going to be enough. Jayers is there, the grenade, if they didn't finish it off, his gun surely would have, but what a great run. But back into the rest of the game, we just saw SDK take the compound that VP had to leave because of the approach from Detonation Gaming, and so a very nice heads-up play to see what is free and take that, but with this shift going towards the west, it has now been severely escalated in value.
It'd be a good scoring opportunity for any teams that might push in from the east, but as you said, that compound's still on the edge as we're entering into phase 5 here. Meanwhile, attack all around still split across the road here with not too much contention, though there's still a couple teams outside of the zone out to the north that might try to take that position. Volibear or TSG, he's got plenty of vehicles to move, but the question is, where does he go?
Man, difficult push. They have a nice little split for themselves. Able to get inside easily. Oh, trying to save those tires, just barely lose one of them. Still a usable vehicle at this position. Of course, not going to be as fast as Sonic Speed. But now Kia, where can they go as well? Volibear in their way could deal a lot of damage, but that's still multiple vehicles, and you're just inviting a drive-by at this point, and Under is going to be the one to flip Volibear off. Finish TSG off. They go down in 9th place.
Someone Kia gets the kill, but you can just see all of the bullets right now flying as teams even get remotely close to this. FaZe Clan keeping that pressure on STK to make sure they don't overextend. AC spotting Luke 12 in the window, but not yet taking that shot. And Kia using this time as an opportunity to recover and see where the next circle is going to take them. Meanwhile, 4 a.m., I think pulling back down to 1 compound as well. And E36, we've talked about, hasn't quite yet come into the zone, holding on to what's left of the high ground, trying to figure out where they can move from here. Sato might be sending it just ahead to scout out a position. We see the smoke wall coming in from 4 a.m. as they try to safely get across. God V, though, gets spotted out by Haruzen, and immediately Forever working on that res. We can hear the bullets still being shot out by VPs. They hope to pick up a second one. Miraculously, though, this revive might actually happen. It does.
They
Forever
stuck
lying
it.
prone for just a quick moment. There you have it. Oh, he's low. Oh, he's low, but he's alive.
They stuck the revive. The cojones on this man. I don't even know what to make of that. I don't even know if the VP know what to make of that. Such a risky maneuver out in the open, but all 4 members of 4 a.m. are still alive in the tiny itty-bitty building that they can call their own.
E36 we'll get that revive right now onto Sato, and attack all around condensed to this 1 compound. Managed to pick up 2 kills, and we can see everybody's just kind of checking windows. They're taking shots, saying, hey, what's up, neighbor? And the circle is going to shift a bit away from these crossroads. It means that FaZe, 4 a.m., and even E36 are going to have to move one more time again, but 4 a.m. has found some damage there onto Damwon. Kia will pick up 1. It looks like they might attempt to drive with this car, though. You can see it's very badly damaged, and this could be a very big risk for Damwon.
You got to make a play. Leaving Under behind to give a little bit of covering fire, as well as a plan B if the vehicles don't make it. But yeah, it's not a very safe position for Kia at all, but they make their way into the tower. The shots aren't found by FaZe, but luckily for them, VP are here to give them some support and some assistance. as well as SDK, because it's actually Batulian who steals the kill from Indigo from Luke 12. But now FaZe, they're leaving. They want to wrap this up. Kale gets one, can't get the second.
A good trade out there. Under being left behind is trying to do what he can onto Gustav as this fight is happening, mindful that it's still not in the zone. And it's going to be both SDK and FaZe that clear up those players. So we can see VP Lou still up, taking shots onto 4AM, who are the last to try to work their way into the zone. And Justice Forever setting up a shot. Division.X Gaming has an angle onto this. Fergus trying to get a hit with the Mosin, but can't quite connect. There you go, Fergus. How often do you get to see Mosin?
Not even a headshot, but it's fine. A knock is a knock. We're not going to... Oh, that was a headshot.
Oh,
Lou, second time's the charm, and crazy. What can he do to try and save his team from this doom that is Division.X Gaming? Longk has the separate angle, and that is going to be it. 4AM out in 6th place. Division.X 4 kills for themselves, and a nice, sweet outdoorsy position. But now SDK, they are putting the pressure on the VP.
VP found a tiny bit of corner, not affected by that Molotov, but it didn't matter because Purdy Curdy with the M249 is just going to mow them down. We've seen a lot of action from the M249 thus far today, and with as condensed that so many of these teams have been, we can see why it's such an opportune choice. Additionally, now Luke 12 finding themselves an interesting angle to stay alive up onto the roof here, but it looks like no other teams really have line of sight here. So as long as he can stay out of line of sight for VP, that could be a big position to get the flush on the rest of that team. Meanwhile, E36 crossing the street, taking on to AAA's compound, and back again to Luke as we see that patience potentially paying off here.
He might be getting spotted by Division.X. You can kind of see the silhouette on the hilltop above him. Unfortunately, he's so focused on VP, there's not much you can do about that. But over here on the north side, tackle around. It's a 3 versus 2 hold against the approaching E36. This should be easy kills to finish up. The blue putting enough pressure on E36 to force them into tackle around's waiting arms, and they get the kills just in time to leave.
And AAA readjusting their vehicles. The smokes come out, and they work on healing to recover from that fight and prepare for the finals. We've got 4 teams still up for this last match. The circle is going to move, and it is in favor of DXG and their high ground position. But DXG smart not to overextend out of this just yet, as AAA working their way into the zone. And we can see the throwable start to come out. VP trying to see if they could get an angle onto Luke 12, but Fergus once again taking shots. And oh, there you go, Luke. He's going to pick up Lou. Can he spot Hyruzen?
Eagle strikes from above. And now with a 2-to-1 advantage in this engagement. Pretty sure they know when Hyruzen is. The grenades start flying. They're going to try and take this engagement quickly because they still need to move, but attack all around, trying to put pressure. Luckily, DXG has given them some support from the high ground. But 8 kills
Hyruzen doesn't even have a helmet.
Hyruzen jumps up onto the roof.
Oh. That's the worst place to be with Fergus and that Mosin not having anything to protect your head, but he's going to try to take that play here as he shoot to kill Purdy and Luke. I think, you know, really waiting to see what happens on the edge before they take that move to zone, but attack all around now are starting to get their focus onto Division.X's Neil T. Not letting this push come in from AAA, who have been opting to continue playing the north part of the zone here. Thank you. Pushing in slowly, looking for an angle, an opportunity to act on this. And that's also going to pull the attention of Fergus away just a bit to let VP and STK continue this fight out at their pace that they would like to take it to. Now is AAA starting to send it even closer out to Division, aiming. Drive-by happening, but Jayers! Oh!
Gonna get punished for that one. Confirmed by Neil T. Dropped by IQ 500 right before. Now Janky, what can he do? Trying to pick up any sort of scrap that he can here. And he is able to find Hyruzen. STK should have seen that kill feed. Should know that their immediate area is now cleared. And they need to start to climb up this hill. With Janku the only remaining member of Attack All Around, this does give STK a little bit of space. Because EXG, there's not a lot of reason for them to leave the immediate high ground that they're in.
Jakey trying to heal, but the blue zone has encapsulated him, and attack all around is going to fall out in 3rd place. SDK now only have to focus on Division.X Gaming. The question is, can they pull this off from the low ground? The low ground has been a notoriously difficult position for SDK to play from on circles like these, but if they can take this carefully, Still a chance here as the throwables starting to come out from Division X onto SDK. It's going to fall just short of Purdy, but Long K spots Kurt out, gets the knock on him. It's just up to Luke 12. The barrel is out, ready to receive. Long K secures that flush. They know that there's just one left, but Luke 12 picks up one. The flashbang's out, trying to see if he can spot out Long K, but IQ has another angle onto this, and Luke 12 just going to try to send it out to the smoke. We see Fergus out at range. Luke 12 is completely surrounded. He tries to do something with it, but Division X will take the win in the end with 9 kills.
There was a chance for SDK to steal that one away, but once Purdy went down, it was all but done for. Luke made a noble attempt, but DXG intelligently used their man advantage to their, like, as much to the favor as they could, gave multiple angles onto Luke's position. Luke would have needed to have gotten multiple frags in a matter of seconds if he wanted to really try and steal that one away. So a good run for SDK, but congratulations to DXG for this victory. And before this game started, they were in 11th place, so this is a very much needed point grab for them as we finish up the bottom 16 games for week 5.
Now the seeding is done, and teams now have their penultimate week, the second to last week, moving forward to get those chicken dinners. So we saw so many, I mean, it was close, right? I think teams were really separated from the bye week by a matter of a handful of points, and to see TAC all around put the work in at the end to make sure that they aren't going to be one that once again gets locked down is great. I mean, these are the things that we really wanted to see, but enough about what we wanted to see. We're going to toss it to the desk so they can tell us what they thought about that match and this weekend.
Thank you, and great job, Clover and Cam. You guys did a phenomenal job on the cast. DXG getting the round win with 9 kills. They were just talking about it. Very needed for these guys climbing up. We know the fact that placements moving into this week are incredibly important. There is a little bit of a side story on this because the infight actually happened where we saw a shoot to kill holding down position, I think around circle 4. They decided to send it over there. But you noticed something that you wanted to talk about, Godspeed, regarding how shoot to kill plays, because we did see a couple of interesting stacked plays come out from them.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, SDK actually was on that hilltop compound that the circle inevitably kind of hard shifted to in the end there, and where we saw DXG. That being said, though, SDK's plays and their movements as a 2-man, watching Purdy and Luke kind of play together and work that compound with VP was honestly just, it was gorgeous. The plays were amazing. The trust that Luke had in Purdy to go into that flat top and get that kill. Froz and I were talking about it. I mean, if Purdy didn't get that, Luke essentially was dead and SDK's run there would have been over. So it's just really impressive to watch those two play, but also want to give a lot of love to DXG. They, you know, themselves came up from the Northwest. They had really worked that area as well. Fought most of the teams off. In fact, I believe it was Enter Force and another LG actually that rotated away from them because they were pushing teams away. So they absolutely earned that victory as well.
Let's just say that the first circle is notable for how we kind of got this in circles to play through. A lot of very odd and difficult rotations that we were looking at. Most notably, a fact that we saw one team opted to trying to set up a bridge camp, and we haven't seen that being very common inside of this. Froz, you hit on an interesting point while we were talking about the drive-by meta being a factor for that.
Yeah, so right now, as we all know, that it's so much easier when you're driving a car, you just swap seat and then you just shoot because of the stabilization from it. It's not hard at all to just drive by, and 9 out of 10 times you're gonna have the upper hand by driving by and being in the vehicle, because then you're in the motion, and whoever is sitting and holding an angle, that person needs to track you while you're in motion, and the other guy that is tracking you, he's gonna be stationary. It's gonna be 10 times easier for you to shoot it. So that's why we're seeing so few bridge camps, because it's so rough to do it. And you could see also Damwon Kia was trying to do the same thing on the south side, trying to hold like any team that was trying to pass them. But again, because of drive-by meta, they were afraid to take that fight. They were afraid to take the shots.
And that just feels like we saw a couple of teams just showing some hesitation in regards to that. It was kind of the story of two different sides of it. When we're talking about DWG and kind of how they were playing a little bit more passive versus shoot to kill being much more aggressive, that very aggressive, very, I guess, quick communication style that we're seeing coming out from Shoot to Kill is what's letting them stack up so much points. I mean, sure, Division X, great on that last round, but the story for this is the amount of points we have managed to see Shoot to Kill stack up over 8 rounds. 103 points is absolutely insane. If you compare that to the more passive style that we're seeing coming out from Kia, 67 points. That is absolutely ridiculous, Godspeed.
I mean, they absolutely crushed this lobby. There's really no other way to say it. Yeah, the thing. Okay, here's the thing. We can talk about SDK all day, but I'm sorry, I'm lost for words because I'm looking at 16th, which is TSG. Remember, that is the team that just won the survival event. And sure, you can argue that, oh, it's a little one-off. It was fun. It was a different format. But, I mean, TSG should really not be in 16th place right now. And because of that, they are going to be penalized, and in a way that is going to very much hurt them going into the next week.
Well, there's a couple of teams that kind of stick out to me on this. Virtus Pro, TSM, 4 Angry Men, 10, 11, and 12 respectively. I mean, this is going to make it very difficult for these teams to just try to get into a good position to try to make it into the weekly finals for the next week. I mean, VP, I felt like, was having a pretty good round that last time for us, and we're holding down a good centralized position. We're seeing them team fight well. What's going on?
Yeah, but that was also kind of the only good game they had throughout the whole weekend here. What we've seen from them is like they're trying a little bit too hard, it almost feels like, in terms of they want to do the kind of normal stuff, how they split up. They're trying to do like bigger splits, bigger holds, but it's not working out right now. And because of that, we saw them being very far down. They had a pretty decent game here, but they started on a 12th position coming into this last game and ended on a 12th position after this last game because of how the teams ahead of them did so good as well. And they had a little bit of a cushion down to VP.
What stands out to me is we saw 4AM. We talked about that we had a lot of our top earners so far that were in this bottom 16. And 4AM being one of those top 5 teams that have earned the most money so far through this, being in a lower position right now is going to, I say, there's going to be some very upset fans regarding this one. It's kind of hard to just put your finger on what's going on with them. Like sometimes they're hyper aggressive, sometimes they're just getting third-partied. Godspeed, do you have any insights on what you're seeing that's kind of just gone awry for them?
I don't think there's anything like incredibly wrong with the way they played. Specifically in that last game, Froz and I were talking about the fact that their play at the end of that game was the game-winning play, so to speak. They were supposed to go up that hill and try to wipe DXG. The problem is they just made it too late. What 4AM has been kind of suffering from is the right decisions, but just at the wrong time. They're either making those plays a little too late or a little too early. But if you look at their positioning and where they're actually trying to be in the circle or where they're trying to rotate as far as setting themselves up, they're still making good decisions. It's just the timing is off. And I think maybe with GodV coming back in, that's kind of been a little bit of a factor, but I still suspect that 4AM will be a very big factor in this tournament. It does, however, bode well for all the other teams in the lobby that they are definitely getting less games going into the next weekly survival.
We haven't had a real big chance to talk about Damwon Kia, just due to the fact that, again, it's a much more slow play style that we've seen. We've had pointed out the fact that they're more hesitant to take these early game fights than we've seen other teams such as like FaZe or Shoot to Kill trying to do. So it's really kind of like more that they've been watching teams. Specifically in that last round, we saw several teams move around them. Froz, you kind of pointed out the fact that they kept having kind of teams not sneak by them, blatantly move in front of them and get an inside position track. Like, how are they still finding a way to make this work for them to walk away with the amount of points that they got in this?
I feel like they got extremely lucky in this game that they had the whole south part just open for them to rotate in. Normally in a circle like this, you would see a lot of teams actually setting themselves up there on the south side, and they would just gatekeep a team like Damwon Kia coming in so late on the south side. And this is something that Damwon Kia is doing time after time after time. They're very late on the rotations, and what basically is happening is when they close to another team that is rotating side by them, Diamond Kia is the first team to actually just stop and wait and let all the other teams rotate in front of them, taking the positions that they want to play from. And because of that, they have to scrap on from a way worse position to play from, something they don't like. And I feel like that's what we're seeing them in the bottom 16 time after time after time.
So we're about to close everything up. I just got to ask you guys your final thoughts. Godspeed. What's your takeaway from the bottom 16 moving into the weekly survivals for next week?
There's going to be some shakeups, especially with teams like VP and 4EM, you know, failing to accrue really high placements here. And other than that, I'm just incredibly proud of STK.
Bras?
I want to see Diamond Kia for once getting that one chicken dinner, getting himself into the weekly finals. I know it's still 2 more weeks, so they still have 2 chances, but I want to see it happen in the upcoming weekend.
Well, there was a lot of questions coming into this, specifically regarding shoot to kill. A couple of roster swaps that they did have to go through, bringing in Pintalol into it, and then being in the bottom 16. There were a lot of question marks that were being thrown around. We saw it on social media. We saw it inside the chats for wherever you were watching this at. But I do feel this was a statement from them. We saw a great play coming out, and I do think that we're going to be hopefully seeing some success moving into the survival series for them next week. But guys, do not forget, sure, we watched the bottom 16, but we still have the top 16 that are going to be coming up after this. And I think about 2-ish hours, somewhere around that range. So if you guys have been enjoying this, make sure you tune back in for everything that's going on with that. Also, big shout out to our sponsors. We got to make sure that we mention Perrier, Toomey, and naturally Intel for providing everything to get this underway. But we're going to go ahead and call it right here for the bottom 16. Make sure you guys pick back up and watch the weekly finals, because I guarantee you it's going to be awesome. See you guys later.